Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into Venice at dawn, where burnt sugar clings to fog like greedy fingers. Peach light bleeds across the canal as your souls meet damp cobblestone. Gondoliers pole through mist, their oars dripping secrets older than Tinder profiles. A baker's shovel screeches against brick, unleashing clouds of flour that could double as low-budget snow effects. You inhale caramelized crust and yeast, Venice's real perfume, overshadowing any fancy gondola number 5 cologne. Water slaps against mossy steps as a stray cat judges your life choices from a windowsill. Fun fact, this city floated its first foundations on March 25th, 421 AD. Same day, some guy probably forgot to renew his Roman Times subscription. Historians still argue whether the exact founding date was a bureaucratic typo or divine prank. Bread riots once erupted here over scarce flour. Imagine Yelp reviews from hangry 16th century foodies. Modern bakers whisper about adding ground mother of pearl to dough for extra glow. You're pretty sure that's an Instagram hoax, but hey, your croissant does look suspiciously dewy. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your current location and local time below. I bet at least 3 of you are watching from a bathtub. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your earlobe catches the jingle of espresso cups, 16 generations of caffeine addicts nodding in approval. A delivery boat growls past, hauling milk crates labeled with Sharpie swear words. You count 73 seagulls perched on a sinking dock, or maybe it's 74. Math's hard before espresso. Hearth flames lick brick ovens as a baker folds dough into shapes your gym trainer would call forbidden clouds. His shovel scrapes, a sound that could unzip your spine if played through bass speakers. Window boxes sag under basil and thyme, their roots cracking plaster older than the concept of weekends. Someone upstairs blasts Verdi's La Traviata, either romantic AF or covering up a fight about burnt focaccia. Sunlight stabs through alley gaps, now golden blades, slicing damp air into ribbons. Church bells punch the hour, echoing off waterlogged bricks like tinnitus with a PhD in drama. You duck under a clothesline strung with hand towels embroidered with someone else's initials. Pro tip: don't fall in the canal. Those green waters birthed both Casanova and hepatitis outbreaks that make WebMD scream. 12 generations of the same family have kneaded dough here, their forearms knotty from refusing stand mixers. An old woman flicks holy water at her oven while muttering about ungrateful gluten. Cross yourself if you've ever stress-baked during a Zoom meeting. Your shadow stretches toward the Rialto, black ink bleeding across peach-stained stones. A fish leaps, its scales catching light like disco glitter tossed by Mother Nature herself. You almost miss the WhatsApp ping from your Airbnb host asking if you've seen the polenta spoon. Spoiler, it's in the canal. Always. A waiter sets out espresso cups, porcelain soldiers lining a marble counter. His apron tells the story of today's first tiramisu casualty. Somewhere, a dog barks at a centuries-old grudge against pigeons. You sip air thick with vanilla bean and diesel fumes, Venice's signature eau de contradicto. Damp seeps through your jacket, bonding with salt crust from yesterday's Aperol Spritz misadventures. Your phone dies, blaming humidity instead of your 3M tick-tock spiral. A cruise ship looms in the distance, its hull blotting out the horizon like God's middle finger to subtlety. Bakers emerge flour-dusted and squinting, medieval hype men for carb-based salvation. Their loaves crackle as they cool, each sound bite better than ASMR mukbang videos. You trace a finger over stone, eroded by 80 generations of floodwater, and one overzealous power washer in 1997. The city exhales wood smoke now, gray tendrils braiding with dawn's last peach streaks. Your lungs catalog 13 types of pollen, 2 microplastics, and the ghost of a Renaissance-era sneeze. Venetian mornings don't do subtle. They do Caravaggio painted this light once, and then got arrested 6 times. Gondoliers light their first cigarettes, tobacco smoke pirouetting with oven heat. One winks, gesturing toward his boat like a vampire, offering sunset Uber rides. You decline. Your shoes already squelch louder than a mortified accordion. A clock tower chimes its bronze tongue, vibrating through your molars. Water sloshes against steps where Lord Byron's dog once peed, probably. Historians still argue whether his letters mention the dog's name or just his own hangover remedies. Fact, by 9 a.m., every Venetian pastry becomes a war crime against your diet plan. Your nose leads you onward, the burnt sugar ghosts of dawn's bread replaced by sharper morning smells. Iron bridges creak overhead as crates slam onto damp cobblestones, fishmongers barking prices like maritime auctioneers. Basil bunches brush your elbow, leaves so green they'd make a botanist weep. You catch a fishwife's rapid-fire debate with a nun over octopus freshness. Sacred vows versus seafood skepticism. The market's operated here since 1381. No permits, just generations of eel-slippery tradition. A teenage porter nearly knees you with a crate of langoustines. His apologetic grin suggests this happens hourly. Watch for the fig vendor winking as he weighs fruit. They say his scale's counterweight is a 200-year-old Saint Christopher medal. Historians still argue whether Doge's chefs invented seafood risotto here or just stole the recipe from Sicilian refugees. Your fingertips graze a crate of Lagoon clams, their shells still damp with the Adriatic's breath. Across the canal, a gondolier yawns into his cappuccino foam, professional scorn for fish stink etched in every eye bag. The copper kettle's hiss cuts through haggling voices. A vendor pours scarlet hibiscus tea into chipped espresso cups. You accept one, burning your tongue because patience died with the first caffeine spike. Tourist trivia fact 473. Venetian merchants once traded peppercorns like cryptocurrency. Black gold measured in apothecary scales. Lemon wedges float in murky brine barrels, their acidity barely masking the whiff of fish guts. A nonna slaps a tourist's wandering hand away from her artichoke pyramid. Her Venetian dialect probably translates to touch again, loose fingers. 14th century sanitation. Laws flash through your mind. Medieval fines for dumping chamber pots in canals, still technically enforceable. You avoid the anchovy stall's olfactory blast zone. Those tiny fish pack a nasal punch stronger than grappa. Pigeons stage a coup attempt near a dropped panettone crumb. Feathered chaos diffused by a broom-wielding cheesemonger. The breeze carries a vinyl crackle. An antique radio crooning Mussolini-era love songs from a spice stall's backroom. You pocket a stolen sprig of rosemary. Its pine fresh sent a tiny rebellion against the seafood fog. A fisherman's basso profundo laugh rolls through the crowd. 3 missing teeth, 2 gold ones, and a lifetime of "that's what she said" jokes. As sunlight climbs, shadows retreat beneath bridge arches. You swear the cobblestones shift slightly underfoot, swallowing echoes of haggled deals struck centuries prior. The last fig vendor folds his stall, St. Christopher, and all leaving you with sticky fingers and unanswered questions about stolen recipes. Sunlight slaps the cathedral's golden mosaics, blinding you worse than paparazzi flashbulbs. Pigeons erupt underfoot like feathered shrapnel, their panic timed to the noon bells. First gong, you feel the sound in your molars. A vibration the cursed heresy bells cast in 1505 still carries. Marble lions glare from their pillars, pockmarked faces worn smooth by 8 centuries of tourist groin shots. Local legend claims their bronze tongues were stolen by Byzantine relic thieves, or maybe just melted for wartime bullets. Historians still argue whether the cathedral's foundation stones include rubble from Herod's Jerusalem temple, all that destroy this temple drama recycled into Venetian real estate. Your shadow stretches across a lion's eroded paws, someone's 16th century graffiti initials still visible between its claws. A tour guide's amplified voice pierces the piazza. Notice the stolen porphyry statues of the tetrarchs. They've stood here since 1200, and something, 4 stiff Roman dudes huddled like they just remembered the stoves on. You count 23 pigeons nesting in Justinian's beard on the basilica facade. Empires rise and fall. Birds shit eternally. A gelato kid on a kick scooter nearly sideswipes you. Stracciatella drips down his forearm as he shouts apologies in Veneto dialect. Up close, the domes reveal their secret. Those golden tiles are just glass and gold leaf over brick. Medieval influencers flexing harder than a rapper's grill. The Adriatic wind tries to steal your map, same breeze that once filled crusader sails with the stink of ambition. A Japanese bride adjusts her veil in the reflected glow, her photographer barking, more anguish, less smile. Through a cigarette, you step over rose petals from yesterday's wedding, now just crimson mush ground into piety and pigeon vomit. Inside, your shoes stick to floor mosaics older than the Protestant Reformation, centuries of candle wax and furtive gum. Marco Polo's ghost probably still side-eyes tourists from the nave. His travelogues never mentioned the cathedral's gift shop, selling plastic gondolas. The air smells of damp hymnals and industrial-strength floor cleaner, sacred meets sanitary. A nun armed with Windex attacks fingerprints on St. Mark's reliquary, because even martyrs' bones deserve streak-free display cases. You squint at the Polidoros, jeweled saints. Their gemstone eyes follow worse than Mona Lisa's. Someone's phone dings with a WhatsApp tone. The modern Mari, the WhatsApp chime fades as you step onto a gondola's warped plank. It groans like an old man's knees. Rotting wood presses damp against your palm, each groove worn smooth by generations of nervous grips. Moonlight turns the canal to liquid mercury, but your gondolier's pole strikes actual muck. Yes, friend, this ain't no filtered Insta story. 16th century records claim nobles once raced gilded barges here. Now your ride's got duct tape on the fells. You trail fingers through water colder than a Medici's revenge. Your wake splashes patterns unchanged since silk merchants imported the first Venetian blinds. Historians still argue whether these black boats evolved to dodge medieval taxes on colorful hulls. The gondolier hums a folk tune older than Vivaldi, his striped shirts, armpits yellowed with salt and lies. Listen close, the oar creaks in its furrow as he spins yarns about Casanova's wet socks. That balcony, he nods at crumbling stone. A doge's mistress tossed rose petals till her wrists gave out. You count 19 rat tails darting along the canal wall. Their shadows flicker like a silent film. Your knee brushes a velvet cushion that's seen more clandestine deals than the Rialto exchange. Below deck, if you dare peek, lie love letters scratched into wood by lovelorn passengers. One reads Giulietta. Your husband's tomb is a really nice guy. A child's laughter echoes from an alley, or is it a gull's cry warped by waves? Algae stains the palace steps like oxidized jewelry, centuries of high tides leaving their resumes. The boat tilts. You grab a lion head carving, missing its emerald eyes. Maybe looters. Maybe bored fishermen. Murano glass shards glint beneath the surface. Discarded factory mistakes dreaming of chandelier glory. The gondolier spits into the water. His saliva swirls with oil rainbows from midday vaporetto traffic. They say Napoleon stole more than our art, he mutters. Took our best espresso recipe too. A fish leaps silver against black, and for a heartbeat, your Columban monks fishing these same waters. Your phone buzzes with a low battery warning. The screen's glare ruins the Renaissance ambience. You slip it into your pocket, feeling the ghost of 13th century mapmakers' quills in your fist. Mold creeps up brickwork like a drunk's cursive, Venice's foundations, dissolving salt lick by salt lick as you round the bend. A neon hotel sign reflects in the waves, its pink glow clashing with the moon's disdain. The gondola scrapes against algae-slimed steps, departure as graceless as arrival. The child's laughter fades into the clatter of dishwashers in a trattoria kitchen, modern Venice's heartbeat. You step ashore, leaving the gondolier to his next mark, a Texan couple debating which hashtag to kill the experience with. Water drips from the Pharaoh's steel comb, a sound Marco Polo might mistaken for distant camel bells. Your damp shoe squeaks against flagstones, still sweating from the Acqua alta. The smell hits like a punchline. Saffron threads cling to your sleeve before you even see the stall, red gold, dusted across centuries of haggling. A brass scale sways where the Rialto's shadow cuts the square, its copper pans gleaming like pirate loot. The vendor fans juniper berries into your palm, their peppery bite sharper than your ex's last text. These, he winks, adjusting a fez worn ironically. Traded ounce for ounce with gold during the Black Death. True story, Venetian merchants dominated the medieval spice, rack linen sacks from Alexandria fattening bank vaults. Cinnamon sticks clatter into burlap, bark curls whisper of lands where dawn breaks angry and humid. Your fingertips graze rusty scales, 3 generations of finger grease polish the weights. Careful, he chides. These balanced my nana's dowry, 20 kilos of nutmeg, a dozen hens. Historians still argue whether Casanova sprinkled clove oil into his love potions or just bathed in it. You lean closer. The stall reeks of cardamom pods, cracking under Cairo's sun, sweat and silt baked into every seed. Salt crusts the vendor's sleeves, Adriatic crystals mingling with grains from Zanzibar. A tourist snaps photos, saffron so Instagrammable, until someone mentions it comes from crocus uteruses. You smirk, recalling 14th century smugglers used hollowed-out cannoli tubes to bypass customs. The vendor nods toward San Marco's domes, carved saints judging your haggling skills. $2.50 a gram, he declares, chipping salt blocks with a pickaxe-sized knife. Same price Doge Dandolo paid minus the fleas. Your coin meets his palm, slippery as a Byzantine treaty. The bronze numbs your tongue, minted back, when made in Venice, meant something. A cruise ship belches in the distance. Its shadow blots out the Lido for a heartbeat. The vendor spits into the canal pearls of oregano float like scummy confetti. Mamma mia, he deadpans. Now even fish get Michelin star seasoning. Your thumb rubs a peppercorn. Its ridges mimic the basilica's weathered mosaics. Lemon zest avalanches from a splintered crate, citrus tang slicing through the fish market fug. Across the canal, a docked gondola sags, its hull pregnant with rain and tourist dreams. The vendor crumbles dried rose hips into your palm, petals once trodden by crusaders, en route to pillage Jerusalem. For tea, he murmurs, or to stuff mattresses like we did during the tax riots. A gull swoops, its beak stolen your coriander seed midair. Dick move, bird. Your teeth crush fennel, licorice ghosts of Genoese sailors buried in unmarked lagoon graves. They say, the vendor leans closer, Napoleon's cooks ground rubies into his curry. He shrugs, but we all lie after 3 grappas. Sunlight bleaches his awning, the fabric sighs like a deflating carnival balloon. You pocket cinnamon, quills sharper than Scarletto spies daggers. Their scent will outlast your hotel's mildewed curtains. The salt vendor across the way sings Verdi off-key, each note dissolving into fish scales and diesel fumes. A fishing skiff glides past, its hull tickled by plastic wrappers dressed as jellyfish. Your tongue finds seawater crusting your lips, the same brine Venetian admirals licked during battles against ink-stained bureaucrats. The scale pans shiver, their chains ache for cargo holds packed with stolen myrrh. The vendor unfolds a saffron-stained ledger, entries in fading ink list, debts paid in cloves. My great-uncle traded paprika for anti-fascist bullets, he whispers. Gunpowder and paprika smell the same when you're hungry. A vaporetto drowns his story, its wake sloshing over the dock like clumsy apologies. You bite a dried chili, fireworks behind your eyes, rivaling the Redenter festa. The vendor grins, palming your last euro. Careful, he lies. That one's from Columbus, personal stash. Your laugh snags on wood smoke somewhere. A baker burns another batch of globalized Pandoro. Twilight stains the sacks. Paprika becomes dried blood in the lowering light. You turn toward the PESC, a RI, a Chinese letter. Its marble steps slick with fish guts and hasty rosaries. The vendor lights a cigarette, its cherry glow mirroring the Doge's palace's last window, surrendering to dusk. Salt puckers your throat, centuries of bargains dissolve on your tongue. Somewhere beyond the breakwater, the Adriatic sighs, its waves still bitter from lost spice galleons. You rub saffron between thumb and forefinger, dyeing your skin the gold of a republic that choked on its own appetite. The saffron's golden itch lingers on your fingertips as you duck under an ivy-choked archway, suddenly alone. Cracked mosaics swallow your footsteps, tesserae worn smooth by 7 centuries of pigeons and piety. A tabby materializes, its brindle fur mimicking the courtyard's decayed geometry, to sniff your shoe with bureaucratic disdain. You kneel, your palm meets tilework from Byzantium's dying gasp. Empress Theodora's smirk survives in 1,000 shards, though her left eye's azurite shattered during Napoleon's luteathon. 3 kittens bat, a mummified mouse, where Venetian merchants once debated interest rates. Historians still argue whether these patterns encode silk trade routes or just a bored artisan's doodles. Rusted shutters screech above. A lace curtain billows like a ghost surrendering laundry. The Gattara who feeds this colony, marches past, her apron pockets leaking kibble. She mutters about Turkish ship cats that jumped ashore during the 1715 siege. Their descendants still hiss at fezzes. True story. Check the tails for kinked vertebrae. You trail a paw-print path through pollen drifts, each step releasing fumes of cat pee and crumbling alabaster. That hollow-eyed saint watching from the well. His nose was broken by a Medici's drunken bet. Now pigeons nest in his skull, their coos dribbling through his ears. A calico delivers half a lizard to your boot, Venetian hospitality at its finest. You decline with a headshake. She shrugs in feline and saunters off. Grazy, you murmur. She flicks her tail like a gondolier dismissing a bad tip. Sunlight bleeds through a grime-caked oculus. Your shadow stretches across Crusader graffiti scratched into brick. Someone's 12th century dick pic looms beside Latin curses about moldy biscuit rations. Across the canal, a cruise passenger drops their gelato. The scream curdles into laughter. Wish you'd bought hazard pay. That surrender flag laundry. Turns out it's someone's Nana Bloomers, pink polka dots fading into architectural trauma. The wind shifts, fabric snaps, like a bored aristocrat's applause. A shutter bangs, iron hinges hemorrhage orange, rust onto a lone geranium. You spot a marble plaque, names of plague victims from 1576. Someone's added a fresh sticker. MURATTI-IVOSDRICANI. Yeah, nice try. The only thing pickier than Venetian felines are their human neighbors. Damp seeps through your jeans, turns out Byzantine emperors, skimped on bench cushions. A bead of rain plops onto St. Mark's lion, its gilded paw now mossy as a sunken galley. 3 teen smokers materialize, filter tips glowing like fireflies in a Bosch triptych. One cat mounts a pillar, its silhouette merges with the weathered lion of St. Mark. Below, a tourist pamphlet flutters, its headline bleeding, Venice, SINKING. It's rising. Tell that to the algae licking the 15th century well curb. The Gattara returns, dragging a sack of meow mix. Kittens swarm, their purrs sync with the distant vaporetto engines. She nods at you, a benediction for enduring this fur-covered time capsule. Her clogs clack away, each step echoing the clock tower's arrhythmia. Twilight softens the courtyard's edges. Mosaics dissolve into a pointillist dream. The cats melt into shadow, only their eyes remain. Neon coins in a wish fountain, that one-eyed saint. He's finally grinning, moonlight pooling in his empty socket like grappa. You rise, mosaic grit clings to your palm. Somewhere, a glass shatters, a bartender curses in dialect thicker than lagoon mud. The last shutter slams its echo, bouncing off the arsenal's ghost cranes. Your socks are now 10% cat hair. Wear it like a local. Your socks leave gray fur puffs on the Vaporetto's sticky floor as you island hop toward Murano, the glassblowers' isle they quarantined in 1291 to stop Venice burning. You're basically commuting to medieval OSHA headquarters. Iron furnace doors roar like caged dragons. Molten silica glows hellscape. Orange behind safety grids, a 70-year-old maestro rolls his cane across the workshop floor, leg twisted, during a 93 Biennale installation, gone Chernobyl. His goggle lenses ripple, centimeters thick, from decades of radiant heat, making his eyes swim like goldfish in warped jars. He dips a blowpipe into the lava-like metal. Venetians still call it that, twirling until it balloons into a honeycomb orb. 23 generations of Morty men have done this, their family crests, winged lion, stamped on every piece. One ancestor allegedly had his hands sawn off for trying to defect to Prague. They take copyright seriously here. The assistant cranks open an annealing oven. A blast of pent-up July hits your face. Thousands of vase necks line the shelves, their rims still cherry red. You swear you'll stop microwaving plastic after witnessing this purity. The maestro barks in dialect, not Italian, not Veneziano, but Muranese, a glassblower's pigeon older than the bell tower, thick like your mother's risotto. He yells, reshaping a misbehaving vase with tweezers older than fascism. A tourist gasps as he dunks the glowing orb in water. Steam hisses like 1,000 angry cats. Relax, it's just thermal shock testing. Acqua controlled near disaster. Your nostrils flare wood smoke and sodium carbonate sting mixing with lagoon humidity. That acidic tang, thank 13th century Armenians who traded seaweed ash for emerald mosaics. Historians still argue whether Venetian glass inspired China's Yuan dynasty chalices, or vice versa. Either way, Genghis Khan's wine cups were probably knockoffs. The apprentice hands you a Goxia, a glass raindrop souvenir. It's warm from his apron pocket, itchy, with residual asbestos fibers. Don't worry, he's been handling raw silica since age 7 and still has all his fingerprints, mostly. Across the canal, bored housewives string beads in neon-lit garages. Venice's entire economy once dangled from these microspheres. A speedboat zooms past, its wake nearly capsizing a rowboat hauling colored glass. Nano at the helm shouts curses, mentioning Mussolini's inglorious end. Something shatters upstairs. The maestro freezes mid-swipe. Cristallo, he wails, referencing the flawless quartz glass invented here in 1450. You imagine a €1,000 champagne flute avalanding into cosmic glitter. His assistant face palms, probably the third today. The workshop's walls sweat borax, and copper oxide streaks like a bad watercolor painting. Each splatter tells a story. Cobalt vomit from 18th century goblets, arsenic green drizzle from poisoned perfume bottles. Your shoes stick to the tile, part epoxy, part petrified apricot jam. 3 Japanese collectors cluck over a vase shaped like conjoined seahorses, marked NFS in Sharpie. Not for sale here means not for your stupid money. They'll cave when the euros hit 5 figures. Tradition bends like hot glass. A radio crackles with soccer scores, echoes bouncing off the 17th century fresco of St. Lucy. Her eyeballs on a plate glare at the furnace. She's seen filthier workplaces. The apprentice crosses himself before recharging the crucible ashes to ashes, dust to silicosis. Your Goxia souvenir has melted into a gooey slug. They never tell you Murano glass hates sunscreen fingers. The maestro chuckles, hooks a thumb toward the seconds bin. For children and Americans, he says, you pocket a lopsided bud vase, owning the failure of empires. Boats honk outside. Murano demands your departure. You glance back, the maestro's lit by fire, and iPhone light, blowing a bubble within a bubble. It's a matryoshka doll of breath and molten sand. Venice's entire history trapped in fragile layers. The vaporetto peels away. The workshop shrinks into a dying star. You balance the defective vase on the rail, one wobble from becoming Lagoon treasure. That's the secret rhythm here. Make beauty, almost ruin it. Then baptize the scraps in Adriatic brine. Lamplight bleeds across the Grand Canal, gold, dissolving into black ink as your vaporetto docks near the Rialto's shadow. The bridge's arches leer like stained teeth, Palladio's rejected design, still sulking in history books. Your heel skims a fissured stone step, the same one where Giacomo Casanova allegedly lost his last ducat betting on cockroach races. Historians still argue whether the 16th century libertine preferred backgammon or blackmail. But his memoir does mention a certain debt settled here at dusk. Water slaps against mossy pylons, each wave whispering names of ships that never returned. Tourists bottleneck on the bridge, phones outstretched like supplicants. Pro tip: no camera captures the Rialto's true face, that molten blush as sunlight abandons Istrian stone. A gondolier's oar scratches a rhythm older than the Banco Giro ledger, Venice's first bank, established right there. See the plaque. No, those Aussie influencers are vaping on it. You sidestep a puddle of Aperol spritz and existential dread, happy hours in full swing. Merchant stalls hawk Carnival masks and Lenin-themed glass paperweights. One vendor's frying cod cakes in oil that's seen 3 doges. The scent smacks you. Burnt crustaceans and truffle-scented dryer sheets. A nonna elbows past her wiggle skirt, swishing perilously close to an open flame. Across the canal, a waiter balances octopus carpaccio on a wobbling tray. Stormtroopers could learn from his precision. Red banners flap above a wine bar that once stored Ottoman spices. You catch a phrase in Veneziano dialect, "Sa vita zi uncio." Life's a joke. Tell that to the medieval merchants who weighed gold here while plague ships burned offshore. A child chases pigeons through light pollution. Their wings flash like defective holograms. 3 teenagers dare each other to lick the well of miracles. Don't. It's 90% pigeon runoff and 10% 18th century syphilis cures. Beneath your feet, the Rialto markets morning fish guts ferment into a biologically diverse slurry. Scientists identified 17 unique molds here last year, one named Aspergillus casanovi. Publish that in your romance novels. You lean over the balustrade. Venice's reflection shatters into a million liquid pixels. A rat paddles by, riding a polystyrene Pope figurine. €9 buys you a spritz, 14 gets a cameo glass pendant. Priceless, the creak of centuries old, wood underfoot, each beam stolen from Dalmatian forests during the Fourth Crusade. Historians still debate whether St. Mark's bones were smuggled in a pork barrel or a crate of sex toys. The Vatican remains evasive. Two lovers argue by the traghetto stop, her ring finger twitching near the water. You said Murano glass, she hisses. He mutters something about Swarovski being basically the same. Spoiler, divorce rates spike near jewelry stalls. A gondola scrapes against seaweed slick steps, its hull groaning like your ex's Honda Accord. You inhale diesel and nostalgia. Remember when canals smelled like ambergris and fear. A street musician's accordion wheezes that's amare with updated lyrics about tourist taxes. Toss a coin heel switch to Vivaldi. Or don't. The city runs on disappointment and overpriced espresso. You trace a rusted lion's mouth postbox, its jaw pried open by 1,000 love letters. Fun fact: spies used these to pass notes during Napoleon's invasion. Less fun fact: Napoleon stole the original bronze horses. Karma's a bitch with a French accent. Windows rattle above a mask shop. Someone's hauling 17th century tapestries into a climate-controlled storage unit. The owner eyes you through lace curtains, calculating resale value for your clothes. Behind him, a marble doge glares at a neon I read Venezia shirt. The ultimate Renaissance burn. Your phone buzzes, a low battery warning over a tick-tock of dancing rats in Piazza San Marco. Irony's dead, but its ghost still haunts gelato stands. A nun sweeps confetti from the church steps. Last night's bachelor party left its mark. She side-eyes a passed-out stockbroker wearing a bride of Frankenstein veil. Even sacrilege has off-seasons. You pause where 3 alleys collide, each leading to a different century. Left, Byzantine wellheads. Right, a discount Biennale exhibit. Straight, a darkened Sada Portico where Marco Polo's ghost allegedly sells bootleg Silk Road NFTs. Choose wisely, Venice rewards only the directionally damned. The moon glints off a flaking palazzo, its facade blistered with humidity and hubris. A shutter slams psych. Just a feral cat auditioning for Saw XI. Your shadow stretches toward Campo San Bartolomeo, past the gold-clad statue of Carlo Goldoni, frozen mid-bow, 23 stab wounds in 1603. Yet he's still the most relaxed guy here. Gelato drips down your wrist, stracciatella, flavored with microplastics and childhood regrets. A neon vending machine hawks artisanal Adriatic water, €5. Skip it. the public fountains free, if you ignore the non-potable sign. Your stomach's already a mosaic of questionable choices. The fondamenta narrows cheek by jowl with a German tour group debating Hitler's pasta preferences. Note: spaghetti alla carbonara wasn't invented yet. Dark chocolate shops exhale saccharine fog, their windows filled with cocoa-dusted lies. 1,000 years ago, this was a salt warehouse. Now we've got kinder egg surprises. Progress. You stumble into a campo where laundry sags between sphinx-shaped brackets, left by a homesick Egyptian merchant in 1542. A bored kid kicks a Fanta can against Francesco Morosini's plaque, conqueror of the Peloponnese, loser of public sentiment. Church bells duel across parishes, San Polo versus Santa Maria Gloriosa. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch, all of them, at the water's edge. A film crew lights a fake moon for some Netflix period drama. The lead actor practices his tortured Venetian lover face, essentially constipation with better cheekbones. A production assistant offers you €15 to spill wine on his costume. Method grunge, baby. The Rialto's neon crucifix whiners. It's midnight somewhere. Your heel grinds a cigarette butt into Casanova's stone. For luck or spite. Either way, the canal swallows your shadow, a temporary stain on liquid time. The next vaporetto arrives, blaring ads for flood insurance. You step aboard, carrying stolen twilight in your pockets. Fog thickens like spoiled milk. As you disembark, your coat collar damp with the lagoon's breath. Campo Santa Margherita dissolves into a charcoal blur, street lamps reduced to smudged thumbprints on wet canvas. Muffled footsteps tail you, though when you spin, only mist greets your stare. Legend says Napoleon's soldiers got lost here for days, subsisting on stolen communion wafers and pigeon rage. A violin's whine spirals from a third-story window, strings trembling through a Bach partita, or a nervous breakdown. Your soles skid on algae-slick bricks, each step threatening to reintroduce you to the canals. Experts think these squares were designed to confuse invaders. Jokes on them. Modern GPS still chokes here. Damp wool clings to your neck. Some Nana's laundry abandoned midstorm. You pass a shuttered mask shop, plague doctor beaks poking through grates like skeletal fingers. Historians still debate whether those nose compartments held herbs or early attempts at espresso filters. The owner's cat glares from a rain barrel Venice's true pest control since the rat-riddled 1300s. Cobblestones echo with PH, a NTOM, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Every shadow, a potential Casanova or cholera victim. A gondolier's laugh slices the haze, cut short when his oar strikes submerged debris. He mutters curses in a dialect last heard in the Arsenal's shipyards. Your pocket vibrates, a phantom notification from a waterlogged phone. You sidestep a flickering shrine to St. Mark, its electric candle buzzing like an angry hornet. Burnt caramel cigar smoke taints the air, remnant of some 19th century politician's stress habit. Archivists found 12 tons of tobacco ash in the Doge's hidden vaults. Modern equivalent, vape clouds over the zatter. The violin crescendos, then snaps mid-note. A curse follows in guttural Veneziano. Decay. Night watchmen swear a disgraced luthier haunts these attics, sabotaging anyone who plays flat. You half expect a severed string to land at your feet. Instead, a rose petal. Out of season, out of patience, 3 students sprint past, their laughter echoing off a boarded-up theater. Posters peel. 2003 Biennale. The Scent of Mortality. Reviews called it arson with extra steps. Your elbow brushes a mosaic stolen from Constantinople, its gold tiles dull beneath centuries of soot. A clatter interrupts metal on stone. You freeze as a sewer grate rattles. Rats, revolting gondola parts. Nope, just a Murano ashtray kicked by a passing drunk. His suit's Armani, his dignity less limited edition. Pale light bleeds from Osteria's basement, voices debating Pound's cantos over grappa. Ezra was a hack. You're a hack. Silverware clatters. Venice's literary scene thrives on provocation and low blood sugar. A waiter materializes, offering cicchetti skewers, flagged with tiny St. Mark's lions. You decline. The lions look judgmental. Fog swallows a cal hole, stranding you beside a well capped with plexiglass. Peer closer. Euro coins glint beside a petrified lemon. Someone's nano swore this water cured gout. Someone's nana filed for divorce. The violin resumes, this time sawing through Vivaldi's Winter at double speed. Desperation or amphetamines. Your shin meets a mossy Rintaco stone, once used to amplify church bells. Now it's a tripping hazard for tipsy art critics across the Rio. A light flicks on revealing an octogenarian knitting gondola, covers from plastic bags. Sustainability meets Stockhausen-level chaos. Palazzo walls ooze centuries of calcified damp, the city's original wallpaper. You press a palm to the bricks. Cold seeps through your skin. Is that a fossilized handprint? Or just bad masonry? Either way, Venice leaves its mark. The footsteps return closer now. You duck beneath a Sada Portigo, back scraping medieval lintels. A tour group materializes, leader waving a glow stick. This arcade hosted Europe's first coin-operated weighing scale. Scuff marks suggest modern visitors still test their worth. Insert existential crisis here. Your phone dies mid-map refresh, swallowed by the same mist that ate Atlantis. A lone light bulb swings above a bakery's service entrance. Inside, a boy kneads dough while mouthing Eminem lyrics. Flour drifts like premature snow. The bakers of Venice never sleep, though some definitely nap in proofing drawers. The violin's gone silent. Fog muffles the world to a murmur. You exhale, breath joining the haze, as an unknown hand brushes your shoulder. It's just a flag, damp and forgotten. Its lion of St. Mark dissolved by rot. Wind hooks its fingers under your collar, the lagoon hissing like a feral cat. Storm surge slaps against fondamenta stones, their medieval mortar weeping brine. Somewhere beyond the whiteout, the San Marco siren wails, a 20th century edition for Acqua alta warnings. Historians still argue whether the term came from Latin hymns or drunk sailors mispronouncing. High water. Rain drills your scalp, each drop a pinprick reminder of Venice's sinking math. You duck under a grocer's awning, just as hail pellets massacre radicchio crates. Through the downpour, a gondolier's silhouette battles the squall, his chant fraying into growled fragments of barcarolle. No romantic moonlit serenade tonight, just a dude arguing with physics. The shopkeeper tapes cardboard over shattered glass. Finché sia mort sia speranza, he mutters. Translation: where there's death, there's hope. Venetian optimism at its finest. You pretend not to notice the octopus tentacle swirling in the flooded doorway. Lightning forks the arsenal's cranes, their skeletal outlines flaring like bomb flashes. 16th century shipbuilders armored galleys here with wood from Montenegro's black pines. Tonight, the last fishing boat flees toward Lido, hull sloshing with tomorrow's sardine regrets. Your boots slosh through a submerged cal knee-deep in the Doge's climate change denial. Floating past, a Valentino heel, 3 lemons, a love letter gone pulpy. That gondolier reappears, now bailing water with a saucepot. La Serenissima, he barks, tossing a rotting fig at the sky. You squelch into a campo where pigeons roost on Garibaldi's statue, revolutionary hero turned avian toilet. Rainwater cascades off his bronze epaulets, forming a moat around the pedestal. Plague-era wellheads gulp air like drowning men. A neon cross bleeds through church windows, emergency lights for the faithful. Inside, candles gutter as tourists huddle beneath Titian's martyrdom of St. Lawrence. The audio guide sniffles. You count lightning strikes between thunderclaps, Mediterranean's answer to a metronome. Under the Rialto's arch, a neon orange life vest floats by Venice's new must-have accessory. Rats paddle toward it with fanatical determination. One clutches a gnawed brioche like a tiny raft captain. You almost root for them. Lightning silhouettes, a palazzo's lion-shaped gutter, its jaws vomiting a waterfall onto a Fendi boutique. Sales associates pile handbags on aubergine velvet cushions. Priorities. The smell hits you first, brine, sewage, and the ghost of 100,000 Aperol spritzes. Sheltering in a vaporetto stop, you meet a German climatologist documenting flood patterns. His waterproof tablet shows subsidence maps from the 1970s. We projected this, he says. Your grandchildren will kayak to school. His laughter tastes like schnapps and existential dread. The gondolier beaches his vessel near San Giovanni Crisostomo, keel scraping medieval cobbles. He's drenched but alive, humming Verdi between chattering teeth. A shopkeeper lobs a grappa bottle. It arcs through the storm, a perfect parabola of solidarity. You trudge past the Venice's flooded orchestra pit, grand piano floating like a mahogany coffin. Program leaflets bob between seats. Vivaldi's Four Seasons, Mother Nature's brutal encore. Midnight bells drown beneath the tempest, their bronze tongues numb with rain. You wade toward higher ground, guided by a neon pharmacy sign. Inside, a teenager sells plastic ponchos at quadruple markup. Capitalism floats even when the city sinks. The German reappears, hauling a tambourine player from a submerged baccaro. He insisted the show must go on, he yells. The musician coughs up lagoon water and keeps rhythm. Venice, in a nutshell. Dawn threatens somewhere beyond the squall, a faint smear of gray in the east. The sirens fall silent. Your socks squelch as you climb the T. Fendaco steps. Below, the Grand Canal churns like espresso in God's demitasse. Lightning flickers, one final snapshot. There, on the Academia Bridge, a couple kissing, their umbrella inside out. A street vendor hawks plastic San Marco lions. The gondolier sleeps in his swaying boat, grappa bottle clutched to his chest. And when the rain pauses, a single heaving breath, you hear it. Water, always water, sucking at bricks, gurgling through drains, chewing the foundations. Tomorrow's problem, tonight's lullaby. A wave slaps the Riva degli Schiavoni, flooding the first cafe of the day. Waiters shrug, laying out tables atop milk crates. The show, as they say, goes on. Even when the stage is sinking, moonlight claws through stained glass, splattering the nave in jagged sapphire and blood-red shards. Your palm meets the confessional's marble, so cold it stings like absolution. This altar once held Saint Mark's stolen bones, or so the 11th century monks claimed. Historians still argue whether they smuggled the relics in pork barrels to trick Muslim customs agents. Tonight, the only sanctity hears the silence. Incense clings to your clothes, a 500-year-old recipe of myrrh and guilt. You trace a crack in the Pieta's knee, Mary's face worn smooth by centuries of desperate fingertips. Rumor says a mason hid his dead lover's ring in the statue's base. Her name, Maria, because Venetian creativity peaked with gondolas. Pigeons rustle in the rafters, their droppings peppering a fresco of the Last Supper. Judas Wears Prada, someone's graffitied beneath in Sharpie. Classic. Your footsteps echo off vaulted ceilings until they don't. The sound just stops, as if the walls drank it. A single votive flickers near St. Lucy's skull, her hollow sockets staring at the guest book. You squint at recent entries. Forgive me, Father, for I have Instagrammed. Why do all the saints look constipated? Venezia T. Ammo, 3 sacrilege level tourist. The sacristy door creaks. A priest shuffles out, adjusting his earbuds. Beyoncé's halo bleeds through tinny speakers. He freezes. You freeze. The Jesuati friars would have had you both flogged. Now, he just offers a shrug and a peppermint from his cassock. Moonlight stripes the pews, their worm-eaten wood groaning under phantom congregations. A plaque claims Casanova dueled here over a courtesan's stolen slipper. More likely, he was hungover behind that pillar, eyeing confession times. You pivot too fast, your elbow knocks a triptych panel. The damned thing swings open, revealing a hollow crammed with bingo cards. 37 bingo cards, a half-eaten panino, and a postcard of David's, a hum masterpiece. Sacristy secrets, a padre. Wind howls through a cracked rose window, the chill smelling of wet mop heads and frankincense. Somewhere above, a rope snaps. A wooden saint crashes onto the transept steps, his gilded halo rolling toward the alms box. The priest yells something that definitely isn't Latin. Dawn licks the eastern windows, the first vaporetto's horn muffled by stone. Your last breath hangs visible, a sinner's speech bubble without words. You pocket the peppermint unwrapped and step into the piazza. The church exhales behind you, ready to swallow the next batch of secrets. A single note lingers in the air, half Beyoncé, half Gregorian chant. Venice specializes in remixes. You step into a fog, so thick it chews your breath, the world reduced to doughy silence. Shapes coalesce, aprons bleached flower white, arms wielding peels like warrior queens. These bakers trace lineage to the 14th century guild of Saint Honestus, patron of burnt fingertips and pre-dawn curses. Their ovens devour almond bundles and raisin-studded twists, the same recipes that bribed Byzantine emissaries during the Fourth Crusade. A teen apprentice fumbles a ciabatta loaf. It hits the bricks with a hollow thunk. His nonno mutters a proverb about unripe yeast and stupidity. Every third gets a salt pinch tossed over the shoulder, old defense against oven witches. Or so the elders claim. You catch a whiff of anise and regret. Someone forgot the sugar in the Carnival crapfin again. Dawn etches campanile shadows across canal reflections, the city folding itself into symmetry. A cat drags a burnt brioche beneath a dock, tail thrashing like a metronome. Historians still argue whether S-shaped rolls eased sailors' grip during storms, or just let nobles avoid hand contact with plebes. You lean against a well-worn smooth by centuries of thirsty gondoliers. Its water tastes of iron and whispered gossip. Boat engines cough to life. A vaporetto driver swerves around a drifting bouquet of wilted roses. Last night's proposal rejection floats face down near the fish market. Bakers dunk biscotti into espresso cups, ignoring the German tourists demanding cappuccino. No foamed milk after 11. Signor, this isn't Rome's circus. A flour sack rips, white powder snows over gondola covers docked for repairs. Two nonnas cluck like hens, scrubbing stains with vinegar and thumbnail resolve. Their debate floats your way. Was the 1577 plague really halted by sacred bread, or just lucky wind patterns? You pocket a stray hazelnut twist, still warm, as a clarinet's noon serenade snakes through laundry lines. Night blooming jasmine tightens its buds, Venice rewinding yesterday's perfume for tomorrow's encore. The baker's boy lights his first cigarette, blowing smoke rings at a carabinieri drone. His exhale mingles with wood smoke, the eternal dance of rebellion and routine. A cruise ship disgorges passengers clutching gelato at 9 a.m. They photograph kneading hands like safari curios. One tries a Venetian phrase, "Dove ill Starbucks." The baker responds with a smile and an overpriced focaccia. Some traditions change, others endure. You stumble into the library's throat, a mildew-stitched yawn of a room that hasn't seen tourists since typewriters roamed the earth. Your thumb catches on a ledger's edge. Pages stick like wet plaster. A 15th century map sprawls beneath your palm. Its vellum crawling with serpentine canals and phantom islands. Archivists whisper this was Salviati's failed attempt to chart the lagoon's shifting moods, Venice's first zoning dispute. Dust pirouettes where sunlight stabs through rotting shutters, each mote a dying star. 3 shelves over, a desiccated mummified cat guards poetry scrolls, colonial-era pest control turned macabre decor. Historians still argue whether the biblioteca's famed lion statue swallowed a crusader sapphire or just chronic indigestion. Your nail traces a sunken landmass labeled Atlantis Minor, less myth than real estate scheme for drowned fishermen. A librarian's snore rattles the theology section. Frayed ropes hint at forbidden shelves. You uncurl a treatise on 17th century merfolk sightings. Waterlogged ink blurs their scaled hips into Rorschach smudges. Some claim Doge Contarini paid drunk sailors to spread the tale discouraging midnight gondola rides during his daughter's elopement. Your knees pop, a sound older than the cracked terrazzo floor. That map whispers again, fingers brushing islands wiped clean by tides and tax fraud. Behind you, Bruno the janitor swears he's seen spectral scholars cataloging books that dissolve by dawn. He'll trade this story for a grappa later. His breath already smells of it today. A drop plinks into the Lion's Head fountain, Venice marking time in leak intervals. You squint at a fresco of Saint Mark, his gilded halo flaking into dandruff. Something crunches underfoot, a 1930s love letter folded into a gondola. Antonia, my cursed angel, it begins the rest devoured by silverfish and shame. Across the room, a French backpacker photographs Dante's Inferno, filter set to sepia pretension. Your elbow grazes a drawer labeled suppressed maritime charts. Locked since the Austrians left, rumors say it holds every shipwreck the city ever orchestrated, insurance, scams with sails and skeletons. A pigeon swoops through broken clear-story windows, feathers trailing over Newton's Principia like an ink-blot raven. Sunlight retreats, shadows swallow the myth of Atlantis Minor. The librarian's keys jingle their iron lullaby. You exit, as all do here, empty-handed, but haunted by footnotes. Your boots meet a bridge older than antibiotics, each cobble-worn concave by fishmongers, fascists, and that one Byzantine empress who vacationed incognito. The Rialto arches overhead, its quarried stones hauled here by convicts in the 1600s. Your heel grinds a chewing gum fossil into the pavement, some 20th century Romeo's last hope before proposing. Below, a vaporetto belches diesel through Marco Polo's ghost, its wake sloshing orange peels against Ottoman cannonballs. 3 arches back, a plague doctor's boot scuff still stains the stones, or maybe it's just pigeon shit with historical gravitas. Local masons whisper about hollow chambers inside the balustrades. Smugglers once crammed them with Ming porcelain and dehydrated nuns. Historians still argue whether the bridge's tilt was engineered for drainage or just bad math covered up with decorative lions. A gelato wrapper skitters past, its cartoon mascot winking beside a marble relief of Saint Mark. You pause mid-span, the canal air thick with dead doge musk and SPF 50. Downstream, the bridge of sighs hunches like a brooding violinist, its limestone blushing from centuries of adulterers' whispers. Its architect ended up in the debtor's prison below, his revenge carved in every asymmetrical curve. A TikToker leans too far, selfie stick, nearly following Casanova's love letters into the drink. Your palm grazes a bullet scar from 45. Partisans versus Nazis versus some drunk Austrian art student caught in the crossfire. 14 bridges away, a gondolier sings pitbull lyrics to Korean newlyweds. The Acqua alta siren gives a half-hearted wheeze. Climate changes answer to a town crier. That plastic bottle bobs again, Coca-Cola logo warping around a barnacled Medici coin. You imagine future archaeologists mistaking it for a holy relic, proof Venetians worshipped carbonated sugar water. A fish leaps, snatching a tourist's dropped euros before they sink. Your shadow stretches across 7 centuries, merchant, mercenary, mark. Somewhere beneath your soles, Mussolini's lost gold teeth mingle with Crusader gristle and Arab keycards. The stones hum compressed grief of a million expired lovers and misspelled graffiti. A pigeon lands on Garibaldi's plaque, defecating where his speech once sparked a riot. You walk on, chasing the echo of silk slippers toward a dead-end alley. The city peels back its layers rotten, glorious, endlessly recombinant, as you become just another stain on the timeline. Feather masks leer through pawnshop glass, their lacquer peeling like sunburnt skin. You press closer, nostrils full of mothballs, and the sweet rot of glue dissolving after 3 centuries. One mask's nose curves like a scythe, carved for some doge's cuckolded brother to hide his telltale schnoz. Carnival outlawed masks in 1703, afraid commoners might fornicate above their station. The ban lasted 50 years, but Venetians being Venetians They simply sewed tiny wine bladders into their wigs and partied harder. A sequin crunches underfoot, its red foil flaking to reveal Nazi-era propaganda, leaflets recycled as glitter. Behind the counter, a stuffed weasel wears a miniature bottom mask. The shopkeeper polishes a Medusa headdress, plastic snakes hissing on rusted springs. Lovers bought these during plague years, he mutters. Might kissed someone's corpse through the beak. Your fingertips hover over a gilded Columbina, its left eye cracked, where a 20th century heiress took a champagne bottle to her husband's mistress. Across the Cal, a baker dusts sfogliatelle with powdered sugar, the same 1600s recipe they used to coat syphilis pills. Teenagers lick stolen pastry, cream off stolen signet rings. Historians still argue whether the mask ban was about morality or just the Senate's jealousy over peasants having better orgies. A gondolier's shout slices through the haze. Responsibility. He mock toasts, draining Prosecco from a Murano goblet. Tarnished brooches wink in the sunlight, filigree holding whispers of dead affairs. That metallic tang could be blood from a stiletto duel over a third soprano, or just the euro coins corroding in your pocket. A tour group stumbles past, wheeling suitcases full of authentic plastic harlequins made in Slovenia. The shopkeeper lights a cigar, its smoke curling into the empty sockets of a skull mask propped by the till. You pluck a rabbit-eared bauble from a clearance bin, its velvet ears matted with salt air and God knows what else. The price tag dangles 1950. Liar, not euros. Outside, a child's laughter ricochets off 15th century walls, their frozen mask clashing with the faded fresco of a martyred saint. A cruise ship looms in the distance, passengers snapping photos of your decay like it's part of the ride. The last bite of sugared dough sticks in your teeth, half prayer, half promise. Somewhere beneath your soles, a doge's love letter molders next to a smuggler's empty cyanide capsule. The masks watch you exit, their hollow gazes tracking your shadow until the next curious ghost wanders in. The fairy engine thrums through your souls. Murano's candy-colored houses bob into view like frosting smudges on a child's painting. Salt stings your lips. A widow's thread snaps somewhere. Her curse rides the wind as you disembark. Crooked cottages blur in the lagoon's glare, their pinks and yellows, sun-bleached to the colors of old aspirin bottles. Needles clack behind lace-curtained windows, 70-year-old fingers recreating patterns last seen on Habsburg collars. A tourist trips over a stray cat, its fur dyed mint green from sleeping in abandoned dye vats. Murano lace-funded wars and crowned empresses, 16th century manuals called it frozen Adriatic breath. Modern experts think it's just great marketing. You hover outside a workshop, shutters warped into permanent size. Inside, thimbles click like metronomes. 16 bobbins dance across a pillow yellowed by sweat and lamp oil. The The last master lace maker died in 93. Her ghost supposedly haunts the exact spot where a Russian countess ordered 12 table clerks, then skipped the bill. A girl no older than 17 offers you thread finer than a spider's gag reflex, dyed with squid ink and crushed amethysts. Nana says we're weaving fishermen's voices into the knots. She whispers, fingertips pocked from pulling too tight. Her demo piece, a handkerchief depicting Mussolini's mistress riding a winged lobster. Historians still argue whether the original Murano patterns came from Byzantine traders or a drunk nun's mushroom trip. Your palm skims a half-finished altar cloth, floral spirals sharp enough to draw blood. 3 widows glance up their bifocals, catching the weak January light. One spits out a thread. Too rough, she mutters, should used winterspun. Another unwinds a spool soaked in holy water and regret. The third, mid-stitch, freezes as the 5:30 ferry blasts its foghorn. The Angelus bells drown beneath diesel growls. Through the window, a cloud bank swallows Venice's distant spires. You imagine snowdrifts forming on Murano's still smoking furnaces, ashes blending with first flurries. A widow tugs your sleeve, her eyes milkier than the lagoon at low tide. We don't make snowflakes here, she says, knotting a thread. We make what the sea forgets to take. Outside, the dock creaks under German Instagrammers. Their guide shouts about medieval lace prisons where orphans worked until their corneas unraveled. A cat licks fish, guts off a Renaissance era well. You pocket a fallen bobbin, its wood worn smooth by dead women's palms. The widows resume their silent counting, 4 crosses, 8 braids, 12 picots. Needles dip and rise, their lace a frost that never thaws. Somewhere beyond the marsh reeds, a fisherman mends his net with the same knot his great-great-granny used to trap angel hair in thread. The ferry honks again, summoning you back to Venice's rot. As you board, a widow flicks her scissors at the horizon, blade catching the last light. Her shears glint like the Lido's long-dead lighthouse, one final stitch in the fading day. The ferry cleaves murky water, your lungs sticky with the Murano widow's thread dust. Ahead, St. Mark's Campanile jabs the belly of a snow-swollen sky. Pigeons swirl like ash from a cremated tambourine, their feathers brush your shoulders in false apologies. A boy pelts seed from a burlap sack older than penicillin. Wings clatter like Ludovico Manon's teeth as he surrendered Venice to Napoleon. Pigeon feedings been official here since 1192. Tourists still call it the feather tsunami. In the 90s, the city laced their corn with birth control. Avian vasectomies via Fiat Panda deliveries. Doesn't stop today's flock from dive bombing a Japanese newlyweds. Gelato, strapless dress, now polycuyed in guano. Your phone buzzes with a Duolingo reminder to practice Italian. The birds above scream in Genoese. Historians still argue whether the original flock escaped a sultan's gift basket or just really loved Byzantine crumbs. Seed hail pricks your scalp. The boy grins, baby teeth spaced like gondola posts. He's channeling Venice's oldest con. Feed birds. Charge strangers €5 for photos. Vanish before the shrieking starts. A German teen's selfie stick becomes a perching rod. His yelp merges with the 5 o'clock bells. Pigeon claws scratch across limestone like quills, signing Marco Polo's overdraft notices. One latches onto your sleeve, beady eyes, judging your life choices. Its crop bulges with stolen communion wafers. The square remembers when these birds carried naval memos back when Venice's couriers outran Ottoman warships. Now they're just rats with better PR. A vendor hawks plastic, Medici falconry hoods, dollars to euros math, so brutal. Even the pigeons side-eye him. Granita di Cafe slides down your throat, bitter and granular as this city's charm. February air gnaws your knuckles raw. You upturn your palm like a mendicant saint. No seeds, just the ghost of wings. The boys already fled, sack trailing kernels towards the Doge's palace. Above, a tourist's red balloon escapes. Pigeons scatter like a broken chandelier. Your empty hand stays open, catching nothing but frost and the faint musk of 1,000 unwashed bird feet. The lagoon swallows the last bronze shreds of daylight. Your shadow elongates across the zatter like a stretched comma. Across the water, San Giorgio Maggiore's facade turns peach blush. A Renaissance Instagram filter gone rogue. A waitress slams down 2 tumblers, limoncello, so neon yellow. It hums. Free sunset bonus. She lies, the €10 charge already bleeding into your tab. Glaciers once carved this basin during the Ice Age. Now molten lemons pretend to fix everything. You sip, citrus burns your sinuses cleaner than a 15th century plague doctor's incense. Venice birthed this neon nectar. Historians still argue whether monks invented it to hide grappa breath or just hated sobriety. Your elbow sticks to the table, someone's abandoned gum fossilized beneath laminated menus. A tour group stampedes past, iPhones swallowing the view hole. Mamma mia, it's just like the postcards. Wales and Oklahoman inhaling her third spritz, palms slap, accordion bellows nearby. A street musician murders Volaire for loose change. His instrument wheezes like a drowned organ. Little known fact, Mussolini banned busking here in 1932. Enforcement lasted exactly 3 hours. Twilight stains the Rialtos, arches nicotine yellow. Casanova probably gambled away his pantaloons under that same stone. Legend says he hid love notes in lemon groves. The archives suggest syphilis meds made him hallucinate arboreal romances. Your second limoncello arrives with a complimentary olive. Its brine whispers of cargo ships lost during the Fourth Crusade. You chew slowly. The pit splits into a fractal, a tiny universe where you're still enjoying this moment. Boats crisscross the canal, vaporettos bloated with commuters, gondolas ferrying exhausted newlyweds. A fish leaps, Its scales flash like a Murano chandelier mid-explosion. Night blooms upward from the water, swallowing orange rooftops one chimney at a time. The accordionist switches to My Heart Will Go On. A teen vomits peach gelato into a medieval drain. His friends applaud Venice, approves all performance art. Lemon zest lingers on your teeth, enamel protesting the acid bath. Somewhere a waiter drops a tray, crashes sink, with the distant clang of Santa Maria della salutes bells. Neither time nor tide, just man-made clamor. Venice dissolves into a Monet sketch, edges blurred, colors bleeding. Your empty glass sweats circles on the suicide note someone etched into the table. Marco plus Sophia 2003, crossed out by tourists fuck off. In angry Cyrillic, the waitress returns sunglasses perched in her decoera bob. Another, her smile costs extra. You decline tipping's illegal here, but so was the Inquisition once. Fridge lights flicker on across the canal, DIY constellations for the overserved. A lone mast light bobs where merchant ships once hauled pepper and regret. Your phone dies, finally free from Google Maps judgment. Wind unspools scarves from souvenir stalls, silk tentacles licking at Croatian-made Murano knockoffs. The accordion gasps its final note. Applause dies faster than the Venetian Republic. You rise, wooden chair screeching like a banshee with arthritis. The horizon's now bruised gold and teal, a watercolor abandoned in the rain. Ramking car would have wept. Peggy Guggenheim definitely snorted something here. Your souls stick to centuries of spilled Aperol. Neon, gelato signs hum to life, false prophets promising solace. The first evening ferry plows through twilight's carcass, dragging a wake of shimmering bacteria. Somewhere a baker fires up tomorrow's first batch of bacilli. Somewhere American Express redeems points for St. Mark's leaks. You linger mid-bridge, salt, syrup, and diesel churning in your throat. The city exhales, ready to haunt someone else's credit card statement. Lights ripple across the water like drowned sequins. A gull snatches the abandoned olive pit, your last trace swept into the Adriatic's indifferent maw. Your heel hooks on a rotted orchestra, pit railing, splinters biting through linen slacks. What's left of La Fenice Opera House looms, gold leaf peeling like sunburned skin. 3 fires gutted this place, the last in 1996. Arson or bad wiring. Venice prefers its mysteries marinated. Dust motes swarm your flashlight beam, illuminating velvet seats nibbled by silverfish. A cherub's chipped grin dangles from the ceiling, plaster fingers clutching a water-stained lyre. Legend claims Enrico Caruso's ghost haunts the 4th balcony box. Tonight, it's just a pigeon nesting in his top hat. Your toe kicks something round, a pearl button, glinting in moldy sawdust. 19th century couture still litters the backstage, corset bones, erupting from soiled satin like ribs. Historians still argue whether Verdi premiered Nabucco here, or just perfected his hatred of tenors. Cobwebs drape the conductor's podium, once shook by Toscanini's epileptic baton. You hum a bar of La Traviata. The acoustics cough it back as a tuberculosis wheeze. Mussolini nationalized this place in 1938, sold tickets to fund colonial disasters in Ethiopia. Backstage mirrors cling to their mercury, reflecting shadows of wigs mounted on sticks. A cracked phonograph disc spins soundlessly. The label reads, "Cursed aria. Do not play." Rumor says a 1923 mezzo-soprano recorded it minutes before swallowing lie. You resist the urge to test legends. Moonlight leaks through the fire-ravaged dome. Your shadow stretches across the stage. Metal creaks above. 56 chandeliers once dangled here. Now only rusted chains swing, sketching nooses in the dark. Construction records show they reused bricks from Napoleonic prisons. Poetic or cheap, a moth-eaten curtain brushes your arm, smell of dye and dried sweat. Underfoot, sheet music dissolves into papier-mâché. Mozart meets mildew. During renovations, workers found a skeleton in the foundation. City archives listed it as forgotten stagehand, circa 1807. The gold fillings suggested otherwise. You pocket the pearl button, its surface etched with microscopic fleur-de-lis. 18th century divas sewed these into gowns to bankrupt rivals. Conservationists would hyperventilate. Your karma, briefly destabilized. The floorboards moan either ghosts or termites celebrating their final feast. Rain seeps through the collapsed ceiling, droplets sizzling on exposed wiring. A fresco of Apollo cracks further his lyre, losing 3 more notes. 5-year restoration plans gathered dust in City Hall. Funds currently allocated to sinking dock repairs. Priorities measured in centimeters above sea level. A program from 1942 crumbles under your thumb. Mussolini's face smiling beside a cast list for Ada. Opening night notes mention 2 soldiers shot during the triumphal march. Unfortunate acoustical confusion with firecrackers. The review shrugged. You exit through a stage door warped by humidity, its hinges shrieking betrayal. The canal outside reflects shattered moon. A vaporetto chugs past, its wake sloshing against the opera house's cancerous foundations. 17 million euros pledged for restoration. 0 euros delivered. Morning will find workmen sipping grappa in asbestos-filled alcoves. Archivists will debate how many sopranos Carlo Goldoni actually seduced. The pearl button will grow warm in your pocket. A stolen aria trapped in nacre. San Marco's bells toll too. Somewhere, a gondolier's radio plays auto-tuned trap music. Somewhere, a rat drags a wig through stagnant water. You inhale rust and ambition, the final note of a city that's forgotten how to crescendo. Your boots sink into weed-choked gravel. The arsenal's skeletal cranes claw at fog. Venice built warships here faster than trees could grow. A fleet launched daily during the Republic's prime. Now seagulls nest in conveyor belts last oiled before Mussolini annexed Albania. A watchman's flashlight jerks across dry docks, yellow light licking the ribs of half-sunk trawlers. Chains sway where hulls once dangled, their rust whispers of Trojan horses, never completed. Workers swore they heard hammering after the last foreman left in 1973. You check your phone. 3:04 a.m. The rhythmic clanging continues. You duck beneath a crane tagged with anarchist symbols, spray paint fresh despite decades of salt winds. A rotting hull groans 15 feet above the waterline. Venice's maritime code once required ships to display lion-headed prows, a law ignored after someone grafted a dog's face onto the Buongiorno galley as a joke. Moonlight glints on something ivory wedged between planks. A mermaid's vertebra. Fisherman's myth says shipwrights bred merfolk to guide vessels through fog. More likely, a dolphin's rib, though the Barbari map of 1500 shows leviathans circling the lagoon. Your thumbnail scrapes off algae, reveals 17th century carpentry nails driven through the bone. Historians still argue whether the arsenal's collapse began with Napoleon's invasion or sabotage by Genoese spies. The evidence, a keg of gunpowder labeled to our friends in Genoa, found in 1797. Archivists call it a prank. The gunpowder was just colored sand. Your sleeve snags on a barnacle-crusted winch. The crank still turns with a scream of dead gears. This windlass lifted cannon, the Republic's last great warship in 1796. Now it spins freely, haunted by phantom tension. A feral cat yowls from a captain's toilet seat bolted to a raft. Water sloshes in the graving dock. Below, your flashlight catches ice shine. Eels writhe through a gutted submarine's control panel. Mussolini's navy commissioned 12 of these, 8 sank during drills. Workers called them iron coffins and smuggled grappa in torpedo tubes. A security gate rattles. The watchman's muttering blends with static from his walkie-talkie. You freeze behind a moldering pallet of life preservers. Their cork innards spill like termini stations. Worst panini. The flashlight beam sweeps past, illuminates a faded poster. Lavorare meno, lavorare tutti. Work less, work everyone. 1970s union slogans peel beside Vivaldi concert ads. 3 slips over. A Soviet cargo ship decays upright, its prow still stenciled with Cyrillic jokes. Dockhands tell tourists it carried Ukrainian wheat. Truth. A Brezhnev-era smuggling rig impounded in 1981, hold, crammed with Turkish cigarettes and bootleg ABBA cassettes. Your knee cracks as you rise, aging louder than the creaking cranes. A chain plinks into the water, ripples distort the moon's reflection into a slowly blinking eye. On foggy nights, locals swear they see the ghost fleet, transparent galleys rowing toward the Lido. You count 7 shadows where no boats float. 8, 9. The watchman's radio blares sudden static, a weather report about rising Acqua alta. His footsteps retreat toward a porta potty converted into a guard shack. Light bleeds through starboard portholes, scavenged from cruise ships. One still bears the sticker. My grandma went to Dubrovnik, and all I got was this lousy porthole. Rot sears your nostrils, part dead seaweed, part diesel sludge, a century of engine oil iridesces on the water's surface. Scientists identified 37 carcinogens here last year. The city's response: fence off the area and list it as atmospheric on tourism brochures. Your fingers brush a Cold War sonar array, its wires spilling like mechanized entrails. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, Venetian hydrophones tracked U.S. submarines. Dockworkers sold fake intel to both sides, pocketed enough lyre to buy Fiat dealerships. Dawn's first bruise colors the eastern sky. Somewhere, a church bell tolls 5:30. Somewhere, a dredger's engine growls to life. The chain's a rhythmic clanging fades as tides lift the rotting hulls. You exit past a no-entry sign tattooed with octopus tentacles. The watchman snores, rattling through thin walls. By noon, cruise ships will dwarf the carcass of Cannon. Teenagers will kiss against Soviet-era propellers. The eels will retreat into their submarine's control room, America's Cold War secrets digested into silt. You walk east, the pearl button in your pocket, humming a lullaby for drowned empires. Water sloshes over your ankles as Piazza San Marco becomes a hall of mirrors, starlight pooling between submerged cafe tables. Venice endures 63 Acqua alta floods annually now, triple the count from Casanova's era. Your boots squeak across marble, drowned in 6 inches of Adriatic. The first Doge's tombstone lies somewhere beneath your soles. Mannequins in last season's Prada float past, their fiberglass fingers brushing your thigh like anxious suitors. A boutique's motion sensor light triggers, illuminating eyeless faces bobbing with discount tags still attached. Historians still argue whether flooding preserves Renaissance foundations or accelerates rot. Evidence: wooden pilings under Santa Maria della Salute lasted 8 centuries, modern concrete cracks in 30 years. You wade past a submerged newsstand, headlines about climate accords bleed ink into the brine. Plastic Ferraris from Murano gift shops orbit your knees. 14th century laws required Venetians to report rising water within an hour. Failure meant losing your right to vote. The system worked until someone realized you could blame the moon. A fish darts through the open door of Caf Lavina, nibbling crumbs off a €80,000 Steinway. Waiters once served Casanova here. Now sea bass explore the espresso machine's corroded guts. Your phone buzzes an Acqua alta alert as tidal sensors sing 3 octaves lower than the bells of San Giorgio. Crime scene tape flutters around the basilica's columns, not for vandalism, but a 900-year-old mosaic dissolving in salt. Conservators whisper about divine punishment. Floods began the year they removed St. Mark's bones for carbon dating. 3 nuns paddle by in an inflatable dinghy. Rosary beads click against a 6-pack of Peroni. Palazzo steps transform into brackish jacuzzis. Rats cling to Louis XIV chairs salvaged from renovation dumpsters. You glimpse your warped reflection in a Byzantine mirror face, stretched like El Greco's view of Toledo. 18th century aristocrats held flood parties here, hired gondoliers to ferry champagne between ballrooms. They'd faint seeing feral crabs clack across their descendants' parquet. Mud-laden waves cough up trivia, a cigarette card of Caruso, a Soviet hotel room key, Mario's gelato token. A carabinieri speedboat churns past, wakes splashing Acqua alta flyers onto bloated books. Someone's nana once told you sinking cities breed poets and leaks. She failed to mention the mold-induced asthma. The Rialto fish market becomes an aquarium. Squid ink mingles with backwash from the canal. Vendors once tossed scraps to cats. Now octopi explore abandoned cash registers. A glassblower's mold floats by with made in Taiwan stickers. Murano's guilds sue anyone who mentions it. Your hip bumps a submerged ATM. Its keypad blinks like a possessed aquarium toy. 20 meters ahead, the Venice Opera House candles gutter in waterlogged sconces. Workers once smuggled sand in violins during restorations. 1996 arsonists burned 2/3 of it anyway. You smother a sneeze from century-old dust. Your echo sounds suspiciously like a contralto's final aria. Gondola poles protrude from alleys, modern-day Excaliburs, awaiting tourists brave enough to yank them free. Nobody mentions the 17-year-old who tried last April. His sneaker still floats near Campo Bandiera. Archivists found Medici-era plans for amphibious carriages. Pope Pius IV vetoed them as too Egyptian. Shopkeepers bail water with dessert plates. Marco Polo wouldn't recognize the Mandarin curses bouncing off Palazzi. A flooded Gucci store's mannequins strike runway poses underwater, chains sinking into sediment like doomed ballerinas. 18% annual rental hikes seem less urgent when Armani suits grow algae cuffs. You pause where 4 canals collide. Your distorted shadow stretches 11 bridges long. Rain plinks on flood barriers stacked by paranoid hoteliers. Medieval gates repurposed as coffee tables and rustic headboards. Scientists swear the Adriatic softened since the 35th cruise ship capsized, a fact locals celebrate with every receding tide. The clock tower tolls a damp 8 a.m. Its bronze moors strike air thickened by brine. A century ago, caretakers wound the mechanism twice daily. Now corrosion grants it free will. Chimes arrive late as vaporetti. Your sodden map reveals nothing but water stains, each blotch a perfect outline of Sardinia. By noon, pumps will groan in vain. Possibly the Four Seasons Yamaha outboard hidden behind a Tintoretto. A fish hooks your pocket, tugging the pearl button toward murk. You let it go, another relic for tomorrow's beachcombers. Exiting the piazza feels like abandoning Atlantis, except the gift shops still sell plastic gondolas and pride. 500 years from now, when silt swallows the last bell tower, maybe someone will brush your bones and whisper, "Tourist." Unlikely, your clothes drip secrets onto stones that remember nothing and everything. The button dissolves into Lagoon current, its hum now harmonizing with submerged church bells. Every flood baptizes Venice anew, saltwater erasing sins, even the confessional box forgot. Steam curls from a dented pot, your Nana's knuckles whitening as she kneads potato dough into submission. Radio static weaves through Mussolini's last speech. A 42 Filco fighting gnocchi plops for dominance. She flicks flour at your cheek, warm as graveyard ash from the glassworks bombing. We used sawdust in pasta when the blackshirts rationed Durham wheat. She croaks, rolling pins, double tapping like partisan Morse code. 3 generations of sauce stains map the ceiling, a culinary zodiac where pesto blotches outgrew fascist bullet holes. You shred Parmigiano over a hand-cranked grater, the same model that shredded Ministry of Culture documents in 43. Historians still argue whether resistance fighters embedded troop movements in bread scores. Nana winks while slicing gnocchi with a SS bayonet repurposed as a cheese knife. Broth bubbles with stolen luxuries, a smuggled guanciale chunk, pepper stolen from an open Wehrmacht supply truck. She stirs clockwise, always against their swastika spin, her wedding ring clicking the pot 42 times. Shelves sag under preserved jars, labeled in dialect. Code words for ammo drops back when the canal froze solid. A fly drowns in last week's grappa. Its fluttering mimics the RAF reconnaissance planes she once signaled with lanterns. Dough-dusted Carosolo episodes play silently on a rabbit-eared TV. 1983 variety acts, fossilized in cathode rays. Nano proposed with a ring baked into focaccia. She bit down, chipped a molar, said sigh through bloodied dough. You pocket a rusted ration coupon stuck to the fridge magnet. It's V for victory stripe, faded to surrender white. The radio flips stations on its own Partita Nazionale. Cookies crumble as Verdi collides with Churchill's old broadcasts. She strains broth through a stocking from her cabaret days. Silk, outlasting Mussolini's reign by 6 decades. Your spoon scrapes the bowl's Byzantine pattern stolen from a Doge's tomb during mid-blitz looting. 5 burnt garlic cloves float like mortar shells, their bitterness the only relic of 44's garlic bread airdrops. She spikes the pot with grappa. Germans never checked Nana's aprons, and hums Gramsci's prison letters set to a tarantella beat. Light bends through bulletproof glass, installed after the 93 Mafia bombing. The same year, she started gluing Caravaggio postcards over family photos. Outside, Acqua alta laps at the doorstep, rising to meet the Mussolini-era seawall she calls that virility failure. Salt crusts the windowsill. You scratch your initials beside graffiti from GIs who liberated her pantry. 13 gnocchi cling to your plate, the number of partisans who hid here between executions. Streetlight bleeds through blackout curtains, still drawn nightly out of 80-year muscle memory. She saves a spoonful for the feral cats, self-reloading anti-fascist mousetraps who cleared the attic of Nazi snipers. Your chair creaks like the gallows, rope she watched sway from this window, lavender sachets failing to mask gunpowder memory. The fridge hums a lullaby from Radio Londra, illegal frequencies still crackling in its compressor. You leave as she soaks labels off wine bottles. For the next occupation, her laughter dissolving into a cough from 45 tear gas. Damp gnocchi dough coats your shoes, leaving a trail even the rising tide can't erase. Your boots crunch over rainbowed gravel until you realize it's not gravel at all. Crimson shards bite your soles, Venice's streets paved with glass teeth tonight. A broom handle blisters your palm as you sweep cobalt splinters into mounds, each pile a fractured stained glass cathedral. Across the canal, a funeral gondola sags under chandelier carcasses, prism tears plinking into the water with every listing turn. Murano's furnaces went cold 3 days ago. The island's glass-blowing dynasties silenced when Maestro Ronaldo's lungs filled with silica. You kneel beside his final project, a ruby goblet stem snapped mid-spiral. Historians love noting how 13th century doges confined glassmakers to Murano, both to prevent fires and trap trade secrets. The apprentice's denim apron bleeds indigo onto milk glass, stains matching the lagoon's midnight tones. An Inside Archaeology podcast once claimed Venetian nobles used hollow glass beads to smuggle plague cures. You pocket a peacock blue fragment, its edge sharp enough to slice through 80 generations of tradition. Behind barred workshops, crucibles cool into metallic scabs. Last week's molten rainbows, now brittle as senile bones. The funeral procession glides past, shattered chandelier arms jutting from black crepe like thorns. You count 19 twisted brackets, one for each master glassblower lost to vetro disease. Before OSHA existed, a crane operator waves his lunchbox, salami sandwich pressed against the gondola's wake. His grandfather allegedly smuggled anti-fascist leaflets in fake Murano paperweights. But locals say he just hated mussel vendors. Your broom handle taps a rhythm only pigeons recognize, same cadence as the maestro's cane during your failed stemware lesson. Acid-etched wineglasses clutter the gutter, rejects from a Saudi princess's yacht party. One bears lipstick smears in Pantone 1945 red, shade matching Mussolini's propaganda posters. Scholars still bicker whether Renaissance glassblowers encoded heresies in goblet base patterns. You're too busy dodging hypodermic fish to care. A German tourist films the gondola's wreckage, phone case plastered with I Heart Authentic Kitsch stickers. His sneaker grinds an emerald chunk into the fondamenta, turning Medici green into subway-grade sludge. You salvage a spiral rod from the sludge, still warm from its last encounter with 2,000-degree glory. Murano's furnaces birthed the world's first mirrors, but tonight theirs reflect only algal blooms and ambulance boats. 3 feral cats conduct a bead symphony, opal lumps skittering across cobblestones like drunk marbles. Their fangs test a millefiori fragment, Venice's signature floral design reduced to rodent toys. A carabinieri officer kicks a chandelier spike into the water, ripples erasing the exact spot where Casanova supposedly lost his lover's earring. Dawn leaks over the lagoon, apricot light igniting chemical deposits in the glass drifts. You unclench your fist. The gem shards cut maps your lifeline in microabrasions. Across the canal, the apprentice smokes a cigarette behind barred gates, ash blending with his master's remains in the Adriatic wind. The funeral gondola rounds a corner, glass teeth finally quiet beneath the waves. Your shadow stretches across the bridge of sighs, slate-gray limestone cool against your elbows. Below, a gondolier adjusts his striped shirt and yells, "Bassio, Bassio," to the couple clutching each other's wrists. Her left hand hovers halfway out of her pocket, knuckles white around a ring box. You remember the Doges designed this bridge to connect their palace to the dungeon prisoners once sobbed crossing these same arches. Modern lovers, they sob too, apparently. Teenage tourists lean over the Rio di Palazzo, smartphones angled for selfies. Their sunscreen reeks of coconut and bad decisions. Flashbulbs erupt as the man finally kneels, ring box snapping shut when a cruise ship's horn blares. His "Marry Me" gets drowned out by Nikon shutters. She giggles a nervous hiccup and tugs him upright. Their kiss lands off-center, her lipstick smearing like a Rorschach test. Historians still argue whether the bridge's romantic rebranding stemmed from Byron's poetry or clever gondolieri exploiting postcards. A pigeon dive bombs the couple's hair, avian kamikaze, with zero self-respect. The crowd groans in 4 languages. You spot a Norwegian kid licking gelato off a Mussolini-era drainpipe. Vanilla drips mingling with centuries of aristocratic sweat. On the bridge's eastern side, prison bars still wear grooves from inmates' fingernails. The western side, engraved with Jamie plus Sophia 2009. Inside a lopsided heart, the gondolier shrugs and lights a Marlboro, his oar splashing canal water onto a Japanese newlywed's Prada clutch. Across the Rio, a street vendor hawks authentic love locks. 90% are made in Romania, but okay. You press a palm to the bridge's underbelly rough pockmarks, where prisoners scribbled prayers with smuggled charcoal. 3 centuries later, some idiots carved Netflix and chill between Crusader graffiti, popped Prosecco corks ricochet off canal walls, the sound of €70 disappointment. The couple staggers into a vaporetto dock, his hand clenching the unopened ring box like a grenade pin. Her phone buzzes, a Tinder notification lighting up her screen. You inhale diesel fumes and sunscreen summer's perfume as their water taxi peels toward Lido. On the bridge, the tour guide insists Casanova escaped these very cells using bedsheet ropes and a bribed nun. The truth: he walked out the front door after someone paid his fines. Dusk turns the limestone to bruised lavender, your elbows leaving warmth ghosts on the balustrade. A French teen films a tick-tock dance where the prison used to hang heretics. Her caption: Veneto vibes Ferrari hair. Beneath your feet, the Adriatic slurps at algae-caked bricks. That gelato kid pukes neon green into the canal Nutella and regrets swirling into the undertow. Somewhere, a historian weeps into their espresso. Moonlight washes over the bridges, romantic bars. You count 19 locks on the grill, each promising forever in cheap Chinese steel. One dangles open, key still lodged like a broken promise. The gondolier hums, volaire off-key, cigarette dangling from lips, chapped by salt and scheming. His grandfather supposedly coined the kissing myth to earn extra tips during the '68 recession. Tonight, he'll tell 12 more couples the same lie. You turn down an alley where the canal narrows to a mucus green thread, moonlight glinting off a pawn shop's dust-caked window. Inside, a carved ivory mask stares from between a broken accordion and a Putin-themed ashtray. Its eye sockets drill into yours, cracks radiating like spider legs from a century of stored tears. The shop reeks of mothballs and the metallic tang of melted down wedding rings. You step over a warped floorboard that groans like Verdi's dying Desdemona. The pawnbroker materializes, a hunched silhouette smelling of grappa and printer toner. His fingernail taps the mask's price tag, 450 euros. Memento mori, he croaks. From the Black Death days. You know the bit. 16th century Venetians wore these during Carnival to remember their mortality. This one's inner curve bears faint bloodstains in the mouth hole, whether from plague sores or a dodgy dentist. Who's to say? A sticker on the back reads, "Made in Taiwan." Outside, a street musician butchers "O Sol Mio" on a synthesizer. The mask's hollow gaze follows you even when you angle toward a shelf of stolen cruise ship jewelry. Historians still argue whether plague doctors actually wore these beak-faced horrors or just got credit from some Renaissance edgelord's sketchbook. You lean closer. The ivory feels colder than the January canal. Something moves in the left eye socket. A spider, your reflection. The pawnbroker's wheeze sounds suspiciously like a laugh. Your phone vibrates, an airbnb alert about checkout times breaking the spell. The mask's teeth seem sharper now. Venice specializes in selling prettied-up Decay, but this feels hungry. You mutter a no grazy that comes out too high-pitched. The shopkeeper shrugs and flicks a cockroach off the display case. "Smart," he says. "Last owner went bankrupt feeding it." night air slaps your face as you exit, campanile bells tolling midnight. 6 bridges lie between you and your rented bed. The first arch frames a peeled St. Christopher fresco, mold chewing his pilgrim staff. You glance back. The mask hangs in the window like a discarded face, watching through fogged glass. At the second bridge, 2 drunk Brits debate quad bikes on the Grand Canal. The mask's weightless stare prickles your neck. A vaporetto churns past, its wake slopping green water onto the embankment. You recall that B-movie from '78 where a cursed mask strangled tourists with their own hair extensions. IMDb gave it 1 star. The Tiber River Sisterhood still uses it for fundraising bake sales. Bridge 3. A stray cat licks its butt atop a Byzantine lion relief. Bridge 4's lamppost has a sticker. Shakespeare never came here, fight me. You pass a boarded-up gelateria, its artisanal promise fading like Marco Polo's inkwell. The Rio della Senza licks stone steps below, each lap whispering, should bought the mask. By Bridge 5, your shoulder blades itch. A cloaked figure crosses ahead, costume shop cape or actual vampire. They vanish into an archway scrawled with K-pop lyrics. The Rialto's shadow swallows you whole, its souvenir stalls peddle death masks printed on tea towels. One depicts your pawn shop find with the caption, Carpe Diem, baby. Bridge 6, your waterlogged airbim door. The key jams Venice's final joke. Inside, you flick on lights that buzz like dying hornets. The bedroom mirror shows your face pale and smudged, or is it? You laugh too loudly, recalling the pawnbroker's parting words. They only follow if you believe. But when you splash water on your cheeks, the bathroom glass mists up, except for 2 clear circles, perfect eye holes staring back. You wipe them. They reappear. Somewhere across 6 bridges and 3 centuries, brittle ivory crumbles in a shop window. The Adriatic breathes outside your window, black, salt-thick, patient. Tomorrow, you'll swear it was condensation. Tonight, you sleep facing the wall. You wake to sunlight stab bouncing off canal grease, muggy air already thickening with yesterday's regrets. The airbims shower coughs, brown liquid before clearing. Somewhere beneath the floorboards, black water licks at 15th century sewage pipes tourists call romantic. Your morning cappuccino steams beside a mutilated croissant, its flaky layers splayed like an autopsy photo. Across the canal, a palazzo's facade surrenders to wisteria vines. Roots burst through terrazzo tiles in fractal cracks, nature playing Jenga with history. A chunk of Michelangelo knockoff fresco crashes into the water. No splash, Venice swallows all its children quietly. An arched gateway yawns open, iron gates rusted mid-scream. You duck through expecting alarms. Instead, rotting jasmine smothers your face like a grandma's aggressive cheek pinch. The courtyard's a botanical riot. Rose briars throttling marble nymphs. Weeds javelining through mosaic swallows. Historians whisper Venetian nobles once grew pomegranates on rooftops to flex their Medici-level wealth. Now fungus blooms where doges sipped limoncello. Sunlight filters through what's left of a gazebo, its ribs poking skyward like a beached whale carcass. A feral cat drags a half-dead pigeon across your path. It pauses to give you the unimpressed stare of a subway performer whose hat you didn't tip. The bird's wing flaps, a Morse code plea. You step over them. This isn't a Disney redemption arc, it's Venice. Survival's the only season here. Your shoe sinks into something squishy. Pray it's mud. 80 years back, some art school anarchist tried releasing Bengal tigers into the canals as a dialogue about colonialism. Legend says one still stalks Dorset Juro, feeding on lost backpackers and unsold Biennale installations. You pick up the pace. Crumbled steps lead to a loggia strangled by trumpet vines. A stone Medusa head glares from the undergrowth, her snake hair now hosting actual grass snakes. You lean in, her left ear's a geocache stuffed with gum wrappers and a condom labeled Carpe Diem 2003. The Adriatic breeze carries a giggle. Teenagers, ghosts, either way not paid enough to care. A mossy plaque catches your eye. Giardini Segreti, 1582. Historians still argue whether Venice's elite abandoned their rooftop gardens after the plague or just got bored. You kick a terracotta pot. Centipedes boil out, disgruntled commuters late for their day job of terrifying tourists. The air reeks of wet soil and abandonment issues. Your phone dings, a low battery warning. The palazzo's top floor windows watch like cataract-clouded eyes. You imagine Contessa so-and-so sipping arsenic-laced tea up there, while her lover composed bad sonnets. Reality's dumber Reddit says Squid Game fans turned this place into an illegal laser tag arena last summer. A neon paintball splat still streaks one wall. Something crunches underfoot, stained glass shards, once part of St. Agatha's martyrdom scene. Now they glitter beside a Pepsi can. You pocket a cobalt fragment. It'll make a great I survived Venetian urban exploring trophy for your keychain. The exit's blocked by collapsed scaffolding. You wriggle through a hedge, emerging scratch-handed into an alley where two nanas argue over gas prices. One gestures at your dirt-caked shoes. Turista quello, Giardino mangia la gente. You laugh because pretending not to understand Italian is cheaper than therapy. Her friend mutters about Australian influencers who treated the Doge's tomb like a Tinder photo backdrop. You nod, clutch your glass shard, and power walk toward the distant shriek of a vaporetto horn. Morning bleeds into noon. At a traghetto dock, a fisherman guts eels while narrating his divorce to no one. You glance back. The palazzo's outline shimmers, wisteria swaying like seaweed in a phantom current. Maybe you hallucinated the whole thing. Maybe Venice carved another notch in your amygdala. The cat reappears, pigeonless now, licking its paws on a sinking fondamenta. Its eyes say, "Tell anyone, and I'll shred your Uggs." You toss your failed croissant into the canal. The water belches, somewhere beneath today's flotsam. 5 centuries of garden statues dream of crushing airbnb guests. By sunset, your docks leave silt footprints on the Rialto. A souvenir cart sells of Venice in peril tote bags woven from recycled water bottles, the palazzos nowhere on the map. No matter. Tomorrow's forecast, Acqua, alta, and existential vertigo. You buy a spritz. It tastes like Campari and resignation. Moonrise finds you tracing salt-crusted bricks home. That glass shard warms in your pocket, its edges worn smooth by 8 hours of compulsive thumb-rubbing. Sleep comes fitfully. The Adriatic's whispers sound suspiciously like root tendrils probing stone. Just before dawn, a distant crash rattles your shutters. Another monument falling. Another mask waking. You burrow deeper into mildewed sheets. Some cities devour you quietly. Venice does it with Baroque flourishes, a knife between the ribs, dipped in gold leaf. The megaphone's metallic screech shreds the dawn. A robo-voice barking Sicilian. Cruise itineraries in 7 languages. You shield your eyes against the floating skyscraper, eclipsing San Giorgio's campanile. Its hull glows Pepto-Bismol pink. A lifeboat dangles like a rotten tooth. Passenger drones swarm the quay, selfie sticks, thrusting into laundry strung between medieval windows. Their GoPros document your morning. Espresso ritual, like you're a UNESCO-certified zoo exhibit. Flip-flopped feet slap cobbles, where doges once trod in ermine. A toddler pukes gelato onto a Byzantine wellhead. Venice takes its pound of flesh in vomit tolls. You recall a faded poster in the Maritime Museum. Black and white photos of workers protesting cruise ship limits in 2021. Now, the mega-siren XI sports a splash pad shaped like the lion of St. Mark. Someone's kid cannonballs into chlorine Jesus. Ripples distort the reflection of San Marco's domes, a funhouse mirror version of history. The ship's wake churns up lagoon sludge. A dead man's leather shoe surfaces, polished Oxford with a skeleton key wedged in the sole. Historians still argue whether 18th century Venetian locksmiths encoded secrets in their keys, or just loved dramatic flair. You nudge it with your toe. The shoe floats toward a McDonald's wrapper drifting under the Rialto. Marriage of old and new filth. A tour group funnels past chanting Buongiorno, Murano, Carnival. Their guide waves a glow stick where torchbearers once led nobles to masquerades. You duck into an alley that reeks of ammonia and resignation. Stone lions glare down mouths stuffed with chewing gum offerings from superstitious crews. A deckhand whispers that the Acqua Liberty's engine room hides Mussolini's lost espresso machine. You don't ask questions. Legends outlive truths here. Lunch brings floating food carts hawking, submerged city slushies, blue raspberry with gummy algae clusters. You chew while watching a bride pose on the Academia Bridge. Her veil snags on a Croatian backpacker's selfie stick. The gondolier below mutters what sounds like a 16th century anti-Genoese slur. Globalization's a bitch. At dusk, crew members sneak ashore for cigarettes and cheaper Wi-Fi. A bartender from Manila traces your palm lines, says you'll die, somewhere between Acqua alta and existential dread. Fair enough. She pours smuggled Cuban rum into your spritz. The bubbles pop like tiny anchors sinking. Security lights bleach the Zatter promenade into a film set. You spot a teen dare his girlfriend to lick the mega siren's hull. Tastes like burnt tax evasion, she reports. They'll Instagram that insight to 12K followers by midnight. Moonrise finds you at the arsenal's ruined docks. Chain-smoking deckhands flick butts into water that once birthed warships. Two crew members argue over a Spotify playlist, Debussy versus Diplo. Neither notices the lone shoe still circling the mega siren's shadow. Its key glints. Your glass shard vibrates in protest. Venice hums its oldest warning, a lullaby for sinking things. You walk home past shuttered souvenir kiosks. A Thai masseuse offers Rialto reflexology, very historical pressure points. Her sign features a photoshopped Casanova getting a foot rub. Before dawn, fog swallows the cruise ship's silhouette. Only its horn remains, a deep, fatuous belch rolling across the cemetery island. Your bedsheets smell of sunscreen and the lagoon's slow rot. Sleep comes in waves. You dream of skeletal hands turning engine room dials, of chewing gum offerings turning to stone. The shoe's key fits a lock that doesn't exist yet. Venice murmurs through the cracks, this too shall rust. The mega siren's bow thrusters groan. Somewhere below deck, a machine prints tomorrow's excursion pamphlets. Authentic local experience. Blares the inkjet. Outside your window, high tide licks at the fondamenta patient, perpetual, hungry. The barista slams the demitasse hard enough to crack the saucer. Blistered hands, moving with 4 generations of Venetian disdain. Liquid tar swirls inside the cup, crema the color of a fading bruise. Americano, he snorts in your direction. The tourist shibboleth hangs between you like an indictment. Steaming shame never tasted so good. Across the Campiello, septuagenarian signoras dunk Saletti cookies in spritzers at 9 m. Their laughter clatters like dropped silverware. Somewhere between Mussolini's invasion and Instagrammable aperitivy, Venice forgot to care about appearances. A water taxi backfires, startling pigeons into a spiraling Rorschach test against the bridge. Their wings churn the smell of burnt coffee into something resembling hope. You cradle the espresso, remembering Calf Florian's 1720 debut, Europe's first public coffee house, luring Casanova between seductions. Nowadays, its gilded mirrors mostly reflect influencer ring lights. The barista slaps a €5 surcharge for oat milk. Progress tastes like steamed legume water and regret. 3 sailors from the mega siren queue, behind you fluorescent uniforms clashing with frescoed saints. The tallest inhales deeply. Smells like my ex's perfume, he tells his crewmate, or a tire fire. They discuss breakfast vodka like it's a civic duty. When their croissants arrive, flakes scatter like plaster from a collapsing palazzo. A tabby leaps onto your table paws, leaving brine-damp prints across yesterday's gazzettino. Its collar dangles a Murano glass mouse. Locals whisper that feline gangs control the Canergio docks after midnight. A modern twist on the Republic's feline rat patrols. You offer your pinky knuckle for inspection. The cat headbutts your cappuccino instead. Rain beads on the outdoor heaters, halogen coils hissing at the drizzle. Historians still argue whether Venetian coffeehouses funded Marco Polo's expeditions through caffeine profits or blind luck. Across the canal, a masked teenager spray paints tourist Geo home over a 15th century well. The stencil's eye holes stare at your half-eaten bustle-eye cookie. Bon appetit. Your phone buzzes with a Lagoon flood alert, 23 centimeters and counting, enough to drown terraces, but not dreams. An Austrian influencer wades past clutching waterproofed Laubautins. Her tick-tock monologue echoes off peeling stucco, authentic Venetian breakfast experience guys. So gritty, so real. The barista flicks an espresso puck at her retreating calves. Bowls, lemon rinds drift by in the rising water, citrus ghosts of last night's overpriced cocktails. You spot last week's haunted shoe circling near the cafe's steps. Its key now dangles a barnacle necklace, Lagoon jewelry for the chronically adrift. A sous chef from the cruise ship tosses tiramisu scraps into the canal. The shoe devours them with Tudor-era regality. The barista reappears, slams down a biscotti without eye contact. Almond shrapnel explodes into your lap. His forearm tattoo reads RESISDNZA in smudged Gothic letters, same ink as the 1943 partisans, different war. A vaporetto's wake sloshes over the quay. Your socks are officially baptized. Rain intensifies, hammering cafe umbrellas into reluctant parachutes. The sailors abandon their vodka crusade, sprinting toward the ship's tenders. One slips on algae-slicked stone. His fallen cap floats past, parading a cruise line logo through the flotsam. You consider pocketing it as a relic, a modern-day Doge's corno hat for the disgraced. Nano at the next table lights a cigar stub, smoke curling into the Acqua alta like Venetian Morse code. His espresso cup tremors reveal a 1966 flood survivor's hands. When you nod respect, he taps a wartime bullet hole in the wall. Stromboli, he grins, not the island. The punchline lingers like crema on teeth. Your phone dies mid-flood photo, saltwater seeping through counterfeit Alessandro Mendini casing. The barista laughs for the first time, a sound like espresso grinding bones. He slides a grappa across the table. For the phone's funeral, he growls. It burns going down, burns staying there. Fog swallows the mega siren's upper decks, leaving only neon water slides visible through the haze. A toddler squalls in a €1,700 stroller. His goldfish floaties match the lion of St. Mark's, eyes across the square. Venice elementary schools now use cruise ship diagrams for geometry lessons, triangles of hubris, circles of despair. The cat returns, drops a decapitated mouse figurine in your saucer. Glass shards glitter like betrayal. You leave €2 under the grappa glass, tribute or apology. Who's counting? Rising water soaks the hem of your jeans as you stand. Each step squelches a protest. At the alley's mouth, a Slovenian street artist wheat pastes over yesterday's. Tourist Geo home graffiti. His new stencil shows a rat wearing an I Heart Suit VE visor. The mouse's glass eye stares from your pocket, winking at palazzos turned hotels, campos turned selfie studios, faith turned merch. Somewhere beyond the piazza, a baker slides tomorrow's focaccia into the oven. Yeast and salt rise through Canal Elizaatse, Ion Enyeroye, Este Acqua. The lagoon belches methane, centuries of secrets digesting. Your tongue still tastes the espresso's bitterness, 9 grams of ground defiance, in a city dissolving like sugar cubes in grappa. 3 sugars couldn't sweeten this cup, nor this year, nor this century. Snow crystallizes on your eyelashes, Venice gone bone white under a quilt it never wanted. Your breath hangs like Murano glass in the air, shattering when you blink. Across the Giudecca Canal, San Giorgio Maggiore's bell tower wears a powdered wig of snow. Locals whisper the last proper blizzard froze gondolas to their docks in 1709, the great frost that turned wine into slushies for the aristocracy. A vaporetto grinds through gray sludge, its wake cracking the ice into geometric shards. Teenagers dare each other to lick the lion of St. Mark's snowy mane. Their laughter skids across the frozen fondamenta, a sound as rare as snowfall here. Historians still argue whether Doge Francesco Foscari exiled his treasonous son during a storm like this, or if the tale thawed into myth through centuries of telling. Your boots crunch through a crust of salt and ice, Venice's attempt at civility. A nun sweeps monastery steps with a broom older than your passport, each stroke releasing the scent of damp wool and regret. She nods toward the cloister, where generations of monks stored winter snow in wine barrels, 16th century slushies for fevered brows come summer. Frost etches filigree across boarded up gelaterias. A cruise ship looms offshore, its heated pools steaming like cauldrons. Passengers in neon parkas photograph the arsenal's snow-dusted cranes. It's like Game of Thrones meets Disneyland. Someone squeals. Their guide mutters about the 1575 siege Ottoman frostbite casualties, outnumbering Venetian arrow wounds. The wind steals your scarf. It ascends San Giorgio's campanile like a drunken ghost. You follow it past the frozen public gardens land where Napoleon's troops once shot songbirds for sport. A feral cat trots alongside, pause, leaving Rorschach prints. Its collar jingles with a rusted key, possibly to a palazzo now, housing €2,000 night suites. Ice glazes the Zatter promenade, turning your walk into a Chaplin skit. Gondoliers chain their boats, with padlocks forged in Mester's last working foundry. One curses as his oar snaps in half, the crack echoing like the Fontigo dei Tedeschi fire of 1505. Snow muffles the Rialto, market's usual cacophony. Stall tarps sag under the weight of winter. A fishmonger chips ice from marble counters, each slice revealing mottled bream carcasses. Niente bacala aghi, he shrugs. Venice's salt cod empire frozen mid-bite. You duck into a pasticceria haunted by the scent of burnt almonds. The barista steams milk for a cioccolata densa, thick enough to stand a spoon in. Her movimento separatista, Veneto pin winks as she recounts the 2010 snowpocalypse when locals skied from San Marco to Murano. Fake news interrupts a gondola repairman. Real Venetians ice-fished for parking tickets that year. Sunlight fractures through iron-gray clouds, gilding the salute's dome like a celestial flashlight. Your numb fingers brush a stone wellhead, its carvings blurred under centuries of frost heave. Beneath the ice, water whispers secrets from the Ottoman siege. Or maybe it's just the cruise ship draining its bilge. A preschool class trundles past, puffy suits transforming toddlers into ambulatory marshmallows. Their teacher points out Palazzo Dario's snow-capped facade. Buried alive 5 owners. She chirps, Venetian real estate warnings disguised as ghost stories. The kids clap mittened hands. A boy licks an icicle. You cross a footbridge sheathed in black ice, grip the rail where centuries of hands have polished stone smooth. Below, a municipal worker stabs the canal with a pickaxe. Each strike releases bubbles of swamp gas, Pleistocene burps from the lagoon's muddy bowels. The snow takes on a bluish tint as night kneels over Dorseguro. Church heaters hum battle hymns against the cold, defrosting altarpieces for tomorrow's mass. A restaurateur sweeps his patio, neon light glinting off brass elephant statues salvaged from a 1920s bordello. His breath smells of grappa and self-loathing. Your phone resurrects just long enough to display a frostbite warning. 14 degrees C feels like -10 degrees C with lagoon humidity. You pocket it beside the glass mouse, its frozen grin mocking your layered socks. At the Zatter's edge, a Slovenian street performer plays Let It Go on a saw. Tourists toss euros that skitter across ice, modern tribute to winter's beggar king. The last vaporetto of the night approaches its prow crusted with ice like a Baltic freighter. Nonni aboard clutch thermoses of Ribolla, heating their cores through sheer willpower. As the gangplank lowers, a man in a Croatia football jersey slips, face planting into slush. His groan harmonizes with the engine's growl. Poetry in motionlessness. You decline the ride. Let San Giorgio's bells guide you instead. Snowflakes dissolve on the lagoon, each one a miniature carnival mask melting at keeper. A lone monk shovels the cloister path, his rhythm older than the bell tower's shadow. Every scoop uncovers cobblestones laid by prisoners from the War of Chioggia, their names erased by frost and time. Under the wooden Pont dei Pensieri, you spot frozen gondola tracks, parallel lines stretching toward the marina. The ice whispers Marco Polo's final words, or maybe it's the wind rifling through a garbage bag. Your breath fogs the air, a temporary canvas. Numb fingers sketch the Latin word for snow on a frozen well. But the letters bleed mist before you finish, the lagoon reclaiming everything except the cold. Midnight's bell shivers the frozen air, Venice, holding its breath between tides. Beneath your feet, the Adriatic flexes its mussel-black water, seeping through porous stone. You lean against a saltine pillar, where Casanova once gambled away his mistress's pearls. The Rialto's shadow stretches like tar across ice-glazed steps, each crevice packed with gum wrappers and 17th century horse teeth. A dredger growls in the distance, its floodlights carving yellow gashes on the Palazzo Contarini facade. Modern crusaders against Acqua alta, but the lagoon always wins. Your phone buzzes with a high tide alert, the same warning Venetians got when Napoleon's cannons breached the Lido in 1797. Different invaders, same sinking feeling. Brine laps at the Zatter, its rhythm older than the wooden piles holding up this city. Historians still argue whether the Republic diverted the Po River in 1425 to spite Genoa, or just to keep their silks unsilted. You inhale diesel and decomposing algae, the signature cologne of empires in hospice care. Laughter spills from a heated pub, tourists clinking spritzes under a portrait of Ruskin. Their guidebook flops open to St. Mark's Crypt, never mentioning the 9th century thieves who smuggled the saint's bones in pork barrels. You pocket a fallen olive, its brine stinging your cracked lips. Across the canal, a baker cracks his shutters, flour drifting like ectoplasm into the night. His sourdough starters older than the gritty palace, a living relic of Venice's carblust. Dough slaps marble as he preps Chinese letter focaccia, act of faith in a city eating itself. A vaporetto driver scrapes ice off his windshield, blade screeching against glass. Cristo cum fa freddo, he grumbles, same words etched into a 1569 frost diary at the Cora Museum. You nod, breath crystallizing into the exact shape of Francesco Sansovino's 1581 description of winter's glass-winged angels. The moon fractures through clouds, laying a mercury path to Murano. Somewhere, a glassblower's furnace coughs ashes into the lagoon, eternal partnership between fire and water. You trace a crack in the fondamenta, weed tufts frozen mid-writhe. Local legend claims these fissures whisper the names of wives sealed into convent walls. Gondolas knock against their moorings, wood protesting like arthritic knees. A cat yowls from the Palazzo Bembo, its cry echoing the oarmaster who drowned here in 1512. Or maybe it's just horny. Your boot nudges a mussel shell, iridescent interior, gleaming like the false gold leaf on Scuola Grand ceilings. Water slaps the steps of Santa Maria della Salute, Venantius's bones, supposedly warding off plagues, doesn't stop duckboats from farting exhaust into the Grand Canal. You count 11 pumps chugging basement water into the lagoon, Destimona's tears in reverse. A shop window glows with Murano doves, symbols of a city that's forgotten how to fly. Their beaks point east toward the Lido Mos barriers. €1 billion guillotine gates meant to hold back Poseidon's mortgage payment. The baker slams his oven door, a drumroll for the coming dawn. Your shadow merges with Alvai's, Cadamosto's statue, explorer, who traded Venetian beads for African gold. His stone eyes track a drone buzzing over San Marco, 21st century pigeons. Ice creaks beneath your soles, soundtrack for this waltz between entropy and espresso. At the Rio dei Greci, a chunk of Istrian marble bobs in the waves, spillover from a palazzo restoration. Rubble from the 1204 sacking of Constantinople once filled these canals, crusader souvenirs repurposed as dock posts. You press a palm to damp brick, feeling the phantom thrum of galley slaves' oars. The first bakery van backfires near Campo Santa Margherita, engine gasping like a consumptive poet. Your lungs hitch on burnt almond oil and wet dog canal stench. A passing nun mutters about the 1735 cold snap, when priests raced gilded sledges over the frozen Giudecca. Light bleeds from the eastern sky, turning clouds the color of Prosecco spillage. A fisherman's net snags on a submerged Fendi bag Luca's haul for the day. His grandfather's nets caught sturgeon during the 1966 flood. Last time Acqua, Alta kissed the basilica's floor mosaics. You step over a discarded Carnival mask, its sequins mirroring the coming dawn. Somewhere, a municipal worker resets the tide gauges, digital readouts counting down to the next deluge. Salt crusts your lips, same saline tang Venetians, tasted after Lepanto's battle smoke cleared in 1571. The city stirs its stone lungs expanding. A crane groans near Punta della Dogana, hauling yet another Louis Vuitton trunk to a penthouse. Below, in the brackish dark, shipworms gnaw at oak pilings, steady as San Giorgio's bells. Historians still argue whether Doge Enrico Dandolo ordered blind architects to design the city, metaphor or ophthalmic fact. Ice cracks like gunshot near Ca' Foscari. Two lovers jump apart. Their blush spreads faster than wildfire in 1105 Canergio. You pocket a laguna-tossed tile shard, Byzantine blue on one side, IKEA barcode on the other. Your phone dies with a whimper, joining Marco Polo's final breath in the Piazza San Lorenzo ledger. The baker lights his oven flames leaping like the arsenal's forges during Cyprus campaigns. First loaves scent unfurls yeast and centuries of hubris. You become vapor, another salted ghost, dissolving into the lagoon's wet exhale. Midnight's bell trembles, its echo dissolving into Venice's frost-kissed silence. The Adriatic breathes beneath you, ancient currents murmuring through stone veins. Your palm presses cold marble where lovers once bartered whispers for pearls. Ice glazes the Rialto's steps, each crack cradling fragments of forgotten hooves and foil wrappers. The dredgers hum beyond the canal, their lights smearing gold on peeling palazzo walls. The lagoon sighs, rising, as it has since merchants weighed silk against salt. Your phone's screen dims, a flickering cousin to Napoleon's signal fires, different alarms, same timeless ache. Brine soaks the Zatter's stones, the rhythm of tides older than quarried Istrian rock. Diesel fumes blend with damp wool, a musk worn by sinking kingdoms. Laughter spills from a candlelit bar glasses, clinking to legends of stolen saints and pork barrel miracles. You bite a stolen olive, its tang sharper than Ruskin's quill. A baker's lantern glows, flour dust swirling like phantom silk. His dough whispers against wood, a starter born before the gritty's first stone. Yeast rises, a rebellion against decay. Frost clings to gondola prows, carving lace-patterned Sansevino, once called winter's glass-winged breath. Your exhale hovers, a transient twin to centuries of frozen sighs. Murano's furnaces gutter, ash meeting water in the dark. Gulls cry where the Palazzo Bembo's oarmaster sank, his voice now echoed by strays. A mussel shell winks up, mother of pearl mimicking gilded coffers. The salute's steps vanish beneath froth, holy bones, indifferent to diesel tears. 21st century, pumps grumble, reversing Desdemona's lament, drop by drop. Shop windows hold Murano doves, wings frozen mid-flight toward sinking barriers. The baker slams his oven, a thunder roll for dawn's approach. Your shadow blends with Cadamosto's statue, trading beads for stories in the drone-thick air. Istrian marble bobs nearby, Byzantine rubble wearing Fendi's logo. Your thumb traces brick, feeling the tremor of vanished oarsmen. A van coughs near Santa Margherita, exhaust blending with almond crust and wet fur. A nun's rosary clicks, counting seconds since the Giudecca's ice races. Eastern clouds blush, Prosecco light staining the Fondamenta Nova. A fisherman hauls his net, 1960s sturgeon dreams tangled with designer plastic. Your boot nudges a Carnival mask, its grin mirroring the waking sky. Tide gauges reset, digital tidesmen tallying borrowed time. Salt seals your lips, a taste shared by Lepanto's widows and Dawn's first bakers. Cranes pivot near the Dogana, lifting trunks of Louis Vuitton lucre above shipworm-chewed ribs. Beneath the waves, pilings crumble slow as San Giorgio's bells mark hours. Ice snaps, a lover's gasp muffled against Ca' Foscari's wall. Your pocket holds a tile, blue glaze marrying Nordic barcode. The baker's flame leaps, orange tongues lapping at arsenal memories. Dough blooms carrying centuries of flood-soaked pride. Your edges blur brine and yeast weaving you into fog. The lagoon sighs a lullaby for stone-tired souls. Sleep comes soft as flower settling on moonlit water.